the instructions on joining the web the Zoom's webinar is on the this evening's meeting agenda. So please follow the instructions so IT may be able to get you chimed in on a timely basis. Please give me 1 second here. Okay, thank you. And calling the meeting to order, and welcome everyone. And the next agenda item here is the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Belong, will you lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Belong. We appreciate your lead there. And the next agenda item here is roll call. Will the recording secretary conduct the roll call, please?
Yes, Chair. Commissioner Albana.
Here.
Commissioner Alcorn.
Here.
Commissioner Belong.
Present.
Vice Chair Chuan.
Here.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Present.
Commissioner Galong.
Mr. Galong, you want to unmute your
I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. And Chair Tao.
Thank you. I'm here. Thank you. Okay. The next agenda item here is conflict of interest declaration. Will the city attorney poll the commissioners, please?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I ask whether any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest on any of the items before you tonight.
And city attorney, I'm sorry. Did I hear somebody say something?
I'll just, I can just go down the line, maybe it'll make it clearer.
Absolutely, please.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Albana.
None.
Commissioner Belong.
None.
Commissioner Ciardella.
None.
Commissioner Alcorn.
None.
Commissioner Gallang.
None.
Vice Chair Chuan.
None.
And Chair Tao.
So just for clarification purposes, Chair does represent a property owner within the noticing distance of the one of the public hearing items this evening, the automatic car wash item. And so the chair has informed legal counsel as well as staff with regards to that particular fact. And so city attorney has made a declaration that the chair has no conflict on this particular item. So just so on, chair wants to go ahead and provide it for public benefits. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So yeah, let the record reflect that none to that question, and also with Chair disclosing that statement on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. Appreciate it. And approval of the agenda and staff. Any changes to this evening's agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We don't have any changes to the agenda items, but I may recommend that we switch the order. I believe the car wash item will take a bit of time, and is a public hearing item. The CIP program is an annual presentation to the council, more of a routine in nature. So if it be your pleasure, it's at the pleasure of the commission, you may want to consider switching the order of items.
Thank you. Thank you, Planning Director. And commissioners, any changes? And may I have a motion if commissioners agreeable? We have a motion to include a staff request.
I'll make a motion to take the recommendation from Planning Director Thomas to switch the second public item with or the car wash with the capital improvement program.
Second.
Awesome.
Okay. And I'll go ahead, go down the line and for the call on the vote. Commissioner Albana,
Aye.
Commissioner Belong,
Aye.
Commissioner Galan, Commissioner Galan. I'll come back to him. Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Galan, looks like you're on.
Aye. Aye. Sorry.
Thank you. Commissioner Alcorn,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan,
Aye.
and the chair's aye as well. So so we have the same agenda with the two public hearing items flipped and in its order. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And the next agenda item here is the approval of minutes. And we have two meeting minutes this evening for the approval, February 10th and February 24th. Staff, any changes to the, we'll go ahead, go down the line with the February 10th as the first item. Staff, any changes to the February 10th, 2021 meeting minutes?
No changes to the minutes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Director Thomas, I believe I have sent in a couple correction items within that particular minutes, and those are minor spelling and also title items. So I've sent that over to the recording secretary for correction. So if Ms. Medina will go ahead and make those corrections on based on the minor spelling and the title revisions. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge that we received that, and she'll address those issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you, Chair.
thank you. So can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Motion from Commissioner Belong. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Galan. And I'll go down the order here. Commissioner Albana.
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Galan.
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan.
Aye.
And Chair's aye as well. So motion passes 7-0. And so now we go down to the February 24th, 2021 meeting minutes. Staff, any changes?
No changes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any changes? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Ciardella. And second is Commissioner Alcorn. Thank you very much. And now we'll go down the line for the vote. Commissioner Albana,
Aye.
Commissioner Galan,
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Alcorn,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan,
Aye.
and Chair is aye as well. So a motion passes seven ayes. Thank you very much. Next agenda item here is, I'm sorry.
I wasn't pulled on that one, but I'm an aye.
My apologies. Thank you very much. And I will do better on the next one. Thank you. So we have 7 ayes. So on the next agenda item here is announcements. Commissioners, any announcements? Commissioner Galan? Do you have announcements, Commissioner Galan?
No, sir.
Okay, no problem. Okay, seeing none. Staff, any announcements?
A couple of quick announcements. Oh, what have I done with my note? I just want to report back to the commission that we are very pleased to announce that the council adopted the new Milpitas 2040 general plan in a special meeting last night. I know several of you tuned into the meeting and were watching those proceedings. We were very happy with the outcome and the results, and forward now to the important work over many years of implementing that plan. But as I said to the council last night, the general plan, the new general plan, lays a very strong and firm, clear policy foundation for the future development work in the city. And we look forward over the next few years of updating our zoning ordinance and other documents, some of which are already underway, for consistency with the general plan. I will also note just really quickly that this, in addition to the general plan, and of course, we're working on the Metro Plan update. We'll soon be working on an update to the Midtown Plan. The city has a number of master plans. I think in recent weeks, you've received a presentation on the Parks and Rec Master Plan and the Trails, Pedestrian, and Bike Master Plan. There's also several utilities master plans and the Climate Action Plan, which is underway in the city. City manager likes to refer to this as the planning renaissance in Milpitas. There's a number of plans that have either outdated or needed to be updated for a long time. Those are all underway. And again, the general plan gives us a very strong and consistent policy direction for that. Should also mention the economic development strategy that was adopted by the council last year. So we look forward to continue our work with you. Want to acknowledge your work on the general plan, as well as the work of the General Plan Advisory Committee. And I also want to acknowledge our planning manager, Jessica Garner, for managing that project over the past several years and doing a superb job with that. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Director Thomas. And just on that note, I have a quick question for you with regards to the general plan. With it, the Midtown area, Midtown specific plan area, as well as the Metro specific plan area. Those two areas are going to go through a continuation process, and in terms of the budget for the continuation, in terms of better defining these particular planning areas, are these budgets fully funded and it's not affected by potential budget issues?
That's correct. Thank you. It was a very good question. And all three projects are part of the capital improvement program. It will actually be your first item tonight. You'll hear about the new, the next version of the capital improvements program for the city. And I think each of these will be touched upon. And yes, they are all fully funded or will soon be fully funded. I say that, I just want to make a note. The general plan was funded in the CIP with a very large budget, and we were actually able to complete that without using the full budget or the contingency. So some of those funds will be returned to the general fund, and some of those funds will be rolled over to help pay for a portion of the forthcoming update to the Midtown plan, or the Main Street plan as we're calling it. The city has also applied for what's known as a my mind is going like it's a PDA, excuse me, a Priority Development Area grant through the Association of Bay Area Governments. I'm fairly confident that we will receive at least a portion of that grant, and any grant funds that we receive will be used to offset the cost to the city, usually to, well, in this case, to the city's community planning fund, and we'll certainly announce that if we are successful in obtaining that grant. But all of these projects funded by the CIP, but the funds come from a fee that is attached, a percentage of a fee that is attached to all building permits in the city, and that goes into what's known as the Community Development Fund. And by and large, that's what will be used for the general fund, the general plan update and the Midtown update. But the transit area update, the Metro Plan update that's currently underway, is funded by impact fees paid by developers in the transit area.
Thank you, Director Thomas, for the clarification. We appreciate it. So the next agenda,
Chair,
I'm sorry.
Chair.
Yes.
Chair, I have a question to Director Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, regarding about the League of California Cities Planning Commission Academy, I know March 3 is the deadline for the registration. Can I still participate on this academy on March 21st up to April 1st, I think?
Yes, thank you.
Still open?
I should have mentioned that. That was my other item that didn't make it onto the post-it note. But yes, that was my other very important announcement for tonight. I just wanted to give a reminder, and I will send an email reminder later too. Yes, yeah, it's still possible to put in your to let Liz know that you are interested in participating in that Planning Commissioners Academy. I certainly encourage all the commissioners, both the new commissioners and the more seasoned commissioners, if you're interested and have the time to tune into one or more or any of those online workshops as part of the annual Planning Commissioners Academy, I would certainly encourage you to do so. So yes, please, thank you for reminding me. And yes, either Liz or I will reach out to each of you to see if you're interested in participating. And we'd like to wrap that up probably by tomorrow. I'm sorry to be so long-winded, but I will note that usually in the past, we've had trouble because the capacity for the Academy has been limited and we haven't been able to send as many commissioners. But having switched to an online virtual forum, it's not only is it cheaper, and so we're able to stretch our funds a little bit further, but it's also, you can attend the conference, as many of the sessions as you want from the comfort of your own home or office. So but both of those, I think, are an enormous plus. We always think of the downsides of our current shelter in place due to the pandemic, but I think there are some innovations that are actually to the benefit of those who wish to participate in these types of programs.
Thank you, Director Thomas. And on that note, in terms of budget, how many participants are we able to squeeze in?
Well, we had budgeted for, the back last year when we created the budget, we anticipated sending maybe up to 3 or 4. That included travel costs and hotel costs, and as well as the registration costs were much higher for an in-person conference. Due to the reduced cost of the conference and a virtual, all of you, if you're interested in attending, we can cover those costs of the virtual conference. It's significantly cheaper.
Thank you, Director Thomas. I appreciate it, and really looking forward to have the fellow commissioners join in on the virtual conference. The next agenda item here is the public forum. Those interested are invited to address the Planning Commission on any subject that not on tonight's agenda, orally via Zoom webinar, instructions above. Speakers may provide their name and city of residence for the recording secretary's record, and comments may be limited to 3 minutes or less. As an item not listed on the agenda, no response is required from the city staff or the Planning Commission, and no action can be taken. Planning Commission may instruct the staff to place the item on a future meeting agenda. So, Ms. Medina, do we have any public comments in the queue?
Hi, Chair. At the moment, we have no public comments in the queue.
Okay, thank you. And we will move forward to the next agenda item here, which is the public hearing section. And so the first item here with the switched schedule here is the Capital Improvement Program, the CIP. And so Director Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I mentioned in my preliminary comments, tonight's item, the Capital Improvement Program General Plan Conformity Finding, is an annual presentation to the Planning Commission that is required by state law. And it is a finding of conformity with our general plan for our annual, or the 2022-2026 CIP. And we have tonight from our engineering department, Michael Clavera, who will present the CIP to you and then respond to comments and questions. And then there's a finding of conformity, a formal finding of conformity that needs to be made by the Planning Commission for this item. I'll turn the time over to Michael for his presentation.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Silvera.
And I would also like to acknowledge that we have our engineering director, Steve Erickson, here with us tonight. And we have, the two departments have been coordinating, as well as all the departments that have items on the CIP have been coordinating on the preparation of this program.
Thank you, and welcome to Mr. Silvera and Director Erickson. And so if you will start your presentation, appreciate it.
Thank you, Ned, for the presentation introduction. Thank you, Chair. Before I get started, my video is having issues at the moment, so I will you only hear me by voice, not by voice and face today. Sorry about that. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Michael Clavera, the CIP Manager of the city. Tonight, I'll be presenting the 2022-26 CIP for conformance of the city general plan. Next slide, please. For tonight's meeting, we will cover the timeline of the capital improvement program. We will review the proposed 2022-26 CIP, take a look at how the CIP is in conformance with the general plan, and then conclude with the recommendations. Next slide, please. The proposed CIP was presented to City Council on February 11th. On March 1st, the Plan and Recreation section was presented to Parks and Recreation and Cultural Resource Commission. Tonight, the CIP will be presented to the Planning Commission, and then we will return to the City Council on April 6th for consideration and adoption. Next slide, please. The City Council has adopted 7 prior budget priority areas, as shown on this slide. The CIP is completed in conformance with these priorities. Take a moment for you guys to review. Next slide, please. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to find the proposed 2022-26 capital improvement program to be in conformance with the city general plan. Next slide, please. The capital improvement program is a 5-year budget that outlines capital improvements and associated expenditures. The CIP document includes the priority for city capital projects and repairs, the schedule, and the anticipated funding sources for major projects. The document is organized into 6 project categories: community, parks, streets, water, sewer, and storm drain improvements. The 5-year CIP is updated annually. It is based on funding availability, budget priorities, completion of prior projects, readjustment of infrastructure and improvement priorities, and factors that relate to need, design, and installation of public improvements. Next slide, please. Only the first year of the CIP is funded, and the project funding becomes available July 1st of the first year. Please note funding amounts shown in the outer 4 years are planned and are not funded at this time. The proposed 2022-26 CIP document was provided to the Planning Commission for review, and the agenda report for this item includes details and specifics of the CIP document and how it conforms to the city's general plan. The purpose for tonight is for the Planning Commission to review the CIP, Capital Improvement Program, and to make the finding that the CIP is in conformance with the general plan. In accordance with the California Government Code Section 65401, it requires Planning Commission to review and report to the City Council as to the conformity of the proposed CIP program with the adopted general plan. The general plan conformance means that the projects identified in the program are consistent with and will further the goals, policies, and implementation strategies outlined in Milpitas' general plan. Next slide, please. I would like to inform you that all the funding amounts presented tonight are updated from what is in the CIP book provided for your review. There's an ongoing process that we've been going through for the last few weeks that are getting that we're updating the numbers with finance currently. So the 5-year CIP consists of 133 projects for an estimated budget amount of $222 million. The estimate includes projects with no funding, which is estimated at $81 million over 5 years. The chart is a breakdown of estimated costs with associated number of projects for each category. Notice the street improvements are the greatest need in the city and requires substantial funding. Example of these projects are the annual street resurfacing projects, installation of a pedestrian vehicle bridge in the metro area, and various street maintenance projects. Also, you may notice, storm drain category is the least funded due to limited funding. Next slide, please. The 5-year capital budget will be will be funded by internal and external funds, estimated at 141 million. Example of internal funds are general government fund, utility funds, and gas tax. External funds are typically grants and bonds. Notice the healthier funds are task fees, sewer and water funds, and street funds. These funds typically fund projects in the community, streets, water, sewer categories. Notice the lower amount funds are related to parks and storm drain improvements. You may notice the funding available is lower than the estimated budget shown in the previous slide. A third of the budget does not have an identified funding source. The CIP lists these amounts to show cities' needs to plan for repairs, replacement, and renovation of existing aging infrastructure. Next slide, please. As mentioned previously, only the first year of the CIP is funded, and project funding becomes available July 1 of each year. The upcoming fiscal year, we will fund 34 projects for an estimated cost of 24 million. Approximately 70% of the funding will be dedicated to projects in the street and sewer category. Notice again, the park and storm drain projects funding levels are low due to limited funding. Next slide, please. In the next few slides is a list of projects that will be funded in the upcoming fiscal year. In the community improvements, the CIP will fund 13 projects estimated at 4.6 million. Projects include the Metro Specific Plan Update, Milpitas Gateway Main Street Specific Plan Update, Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance Update, maintenance and upgrade projects for city facilities, a purchase for a mobile emergency operation vehicle, and a park art project. Under the park improvements, the 4 projects shown are for maintenance of park infrastructure, which is estimated at $405,000. Next slide, please. Majority of the projects listed in the streets improvements are for maintenance purposes, which consist of 13 projects estimated at 8.5 million. Under the water improvement category, there will be 4 projects funded, estimated at 2 million. And for the sewer improvements, there will be 4 projects funded, estimated at 8.9 million. The majority of the funding in this category is the annual payment made to San Jose for shared cost improvements to the wastewater plant. Next slide, please. This year, 3 projects will be added to the CIP. First project is the Capital Improvement Program Administration. This will be a recurring project for the annual preparation of the Capital Improvement Program. $385,000 will be funded this coming fiscal year, and the funding sources includes general government CIP, task impact fee, water capital surcharge, and sewer infrastructure fund. The next project is a street resurfacing project for the fiscal year 2025-26. Project provides for roadway pavement repair, rehabilitation, and/or reconstruction. Streets are selected for improvements based on capital management system. The funding amount in fiscal year 25-26 is estimated to be 4.1 million. Excuse me. The project is typically funded by gas tax, Measure B, SB1, and vehicle registration fees. A recently added project is Cardoza Park softball field improvement. Project provides for the design and construction of a new softball fields at Cardoza Park. The project is estimated at $5 million, but there is no identified funding at this time. Project is anticipated for fiscal year 22-23 and 23-24 if funding is available. Next slide, please. Now we'll talk about the city's available funding. The city general fund is not sufficient to address ongoing repairs and upkeep of city's infrastructure such as buildings, utility systems, parks, and so forth. Staff will continue to review city positions and funding and will adjust these resources as required. 20 projects were defunded or deferred last year to save $5.67 million in general funding to address shortfalls and to fund essential projects. Next slide, please. 4 of the 20 deferred projects are proposed to be refunded this year, which are the recurring fire station improvement project, the installation of automated license plate readers and security cameras, the purchase of new mobile emergency operations center, and the recurring sound wall and barrier repair and renovation project. Next slide, please. Now we will review how the projects in the capital improvement plan program conforms to various policy goals and actions of the city general plan. Please refer to your general report for specific details. Next slide, please. The city's general plan identifies the community's vision for the future and provides a framework that will guide decisions on the city's growth, development, conservation of open space and resources in a manner that is consistent with the quality of life desired by the city's residents and businesses. Staff reviews and analyzes the project and the capital improvement program to ensure the program is in conformance with and will further the goals, policies, and implementation strategies outlined in the General Plan 2040, which was adopted by City Council last night. In accordance with Government Code Section 65401, it requires the Planning Commission to review and report to the City Council as to the conformity of the proposed CIP program with the adopted general plan. Next slide, please. Under the community improvements, staff has found the Metro-specific plan, Milpitas Gateway Main Street specific plan, and comprehensive zoning ordinance updates meets several land use and economic development policies, goals, and actions, which are listed below. I'll allow a few seconds there to review those goals and actions. Next slide, please. These projects listed on the slide are related to the safety element of the general plan. Valley Water District Creek Project. This year, the district will be working on Clara and Penitentiary Creeks to improve flood control and make improvements to the city trail entry heads and pathways and storm drain system on the city's behalf. Fire station improvements, public safety disaster plan update, and mobile emergency operation vehicle replacement are projects that meet various emergency preparedness policy goals and actions as shown below. Next slide, please. A project created during this fiscal year is the Public Art Project. This funds the assessment, repairs, and maintenance of the city public art collection. This complies with the community design element goals of public spaces and public art. Next slide, please. Under the parks category, citywide parks, sports field turf, and minor court rehabilitation projects are for the maintenance and upkeep of the park's facilities. Trade Zone Montague Park Central, Metro Subdistrict Park, and Metro Community Facility Building are planned projects in the metro areas. These projects are to provide a public space for activity and social interaction to serve the needs of the community. All these projects meet the goals and objectives of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which in turn also complies with the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space element policy goals and actions, which are listed on this slide. Next slide, please. In the street improvement category, majority of the projects comply with the policy and goals and actions of the circulation element. South Milpitas Boulevard Vehicle Bridge and Montague pedestrian overcrossing at Potencia Creek are projects that will enhance safety, improves network connectivity, and facilitates bicycling and walking between communities. Next slide, please. Annual street resurfacing project, sidewalk, curb and gutter repairs, and street light signal and signage are projects that ensure maintenance of transportation infrastructure for pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicles. The traffic study and minor improvements is a project that monitors traffic service levels and implements improvements. Next slide, please. The following water project on this slide complies with the utility service element, policy, goals, and actions. The Metro Recycle Water Distribution is a project that reimburses developers and the Metro specific plan to expand the recycle water system. This complies with the city policy to increase water conservation by using recycled water to irrigate landscaping. The Water Leak Detection and Condition Assessment Program continues to monitor water flows through the city water system to identify areas of potential water loss. Minor water projects and hydrant replacement program are maintenance projects to ensure the water system is adequate. Well upgrade project and the second water reservoir and pump station are examples of projects to provide adequate public infrastructure for existing and future needs. The well project is to maintain existing groundwater wells as a resource for energy, emergency, or supplemental water supply for the city. This past fall, we completed the drilling of the new well at McCandless Park and will complete the installation of the pump station in year 22 or 23. Also, we'll be assessing Curtis Well to determine if the well can be activated and used as a resource for supplemental water supply for the Metro and Midtown specific plan. Next slide, please. In the sewer category, San Jose Santa Clara Regional Wastewater Facility is the annual payment for the city's shared cost of improvements at the plant. The sewer pump station rehabilitation program and minor sewer projects are maintenance projects to increase the lifespan of the system and ensure public safety. Sewer line replacement at East Curtis is a planned project to upsize the existing pipe for future development identified in the sewer master plan. These projects also complies with the utility service element, policy goals, and actions as shown below. Next slide, please. In the storm drains category, Dempsey Road storm drain replacement, flap gate replacement, and on-call storm maintenance and repair services are projects for maintenance and improvements of the city storm drainage facilities, which also meets the policy goals and actions of the utility element. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the Capital Improvement Program outlines a 5-year program for a variety of public infrastructure projects, and it includes associated timing, financing, and related details. As shown by the analysis incorporated into the agenda report, the city's 22-26 CIP is in conformance with the city's general plan. Tonight, our recommendation to Planning Commission is to open and close the public hearing, adopt resolution number 21-005, finding the proposed 22-26 capital improvement program is in conformance with the city of Milpitas general plan. This concludes the presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silvera. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Silvera or Mr. Erickson this evening on the CIP program. Commissioner Stradella?
Yes, I've got several questions, I guess. I noticed on page 96, I don't know if you guys can look that up, but it's all about the LED lights, on the street lights. I'm sure that if the city went ahead and put LED lights in, it's going to save them a fortune, and it's going to be much brighter. I replaced all my LED lights, and I'm saving like half the bill that my electric bill was. That's one of the comments I've got. And then I noticed underground utilities on page 178. It said something about land acquisition for the electric lines, undergrounding the electric lines. I thought we owned the sidewalks already. That's one of the other questions.
So for that project, in order for us to install the infrastructure to underground the overhead wire, we do have to acquire acquire easements over private property to install the bigger boxes. Due to Main Street is a very congested, a very old road, and it's very very challenging to install these large electric boxes within the sidewalk. So we do have to go out and acquire easements over private property to install the infrastructure.
Okay, so those are for the big boxes.
That is correct.
And then just three more questions. On 192, you guys talked about street sweeping. I thought the garbage company did that already.
This is a pilot program. Maybe Steve Erickson, can you speak to it?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
All right. So yes, the contract that the city has with the company that takes the trash away does sweep the streets. However, there's currently not a policy in place that requires vehicles that are parked on the street to be removed. And so this is a pilot project that's being conducted by Public Works to basically post streets for no parking, on-street parking on street sweeping days, and basically enforce that so the street sweepers can do a better job of cleaning the streets. So again, this is a pilot program or a pilot project for that.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can still hear me. Can you?
Loud and clear.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
My screen went blank, so the Calaveras Bridge at the railroad tracks, page 198. I think I heard something that the city council, you guys had $100,000 budgeted for that out of some fund. And it's going to cost, what, $70 million to build that bridge? What's that $100,000 going to do? I just thought it was, just a waste of money. We could put it somewhere else.
So this is a long-term project where the city collects fees for developers, and so far we've collected approximately $100,000, but it's to be put toward the future widening of Calaveras Bridge. That you're correct. The estimate is shown in the CIP is like $70 to $80 million. So again, it's going to be a long-term project. It's going to take the time for the city to acquire the funds for that, and then coordinate with the Valley Transportation Authority for that widening project.
Okay, I've sat in on a lot of these CIPs, and that bridge comes up just about every time. And God, I think for 15 years, it was only like 15 or 20 million. Now it's up to that much. Anyway, and then on page 284 with the water leaks, I'm just thinking out loud here because I've got a friend of mine has a company that does drones. And right now they're doing the golf courses to see if there's any major water leaks. And they do that or no water. So I'm just wondering whether we could do that with drones. And, maybe a better question is for my friend to get back to you guys to see if maybe this would be feasible.
So looking at it, this is another project that's completed by our Public Works Department. So I don't know if drones you wouldn't be able to see a leak for an underground pipe all the time unless that leak had progressed to the surface. So there is equipment that is being used that actually I believe can basically hear the leak. That's a lot of times how they have to be found because water is going to flow the easiest course, and it may not be to the surface. It actually may be along the trench line, which is typically a rock base. So it's easy to flow again along the pipe and it will burp out somewhere else. So again, I believe they use some acoustical technology to actually try to pinpoint the leak.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll just for the heck of it, I'll talk to my friend to see if this might work for you guys. And then that's all the questions I have, and I'm going to launch the meeting again. See what happens.
Thank you, Commissioner Sardella, and other commissioners' comments. Okay.
Yeah.
Seeing none, Chair will jump in with a few questions. On the presentation here on the acquiring of the easement rights along Main Street, what kind of time frame are we looking at for that particular project to take place?
Well, one of the problems is that we don't have the funding for it. So the city does have, we do have PG&E, I think it's Rule 20 funds, but for acquisition of the right-of-way, that requires the city to actually to purchase those. So I believe this project is kind of on hold until that funding is available.
Okay, and I guess if I can just sidetrack for a second with Director Thomas, with the gateway plan that's sort of being looked upon in the coming cycle, are we looking to incorporate, or in terms of our street alignments and whatnots, to better accommodate this, or any kind of considerations been given to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mentioned at the beginning that we have applied for a priority development grant to help offset some of the costs of the preparation of the of the Main Street Gateway Plan. In addition to that, we've also applied for grant funds to complete what's known as a plan line study for the street. The city has an existing plan line study for Main Street, but it is quite old, and so that we would be looking at updating that. This would be done in conjunction with the preparation of the specific plan and all of the work that is entailed in that, which includes a very detailed look at infrastructure needs, not only of the street and the sidewalks, the public realm as we call it, but also underground utilities and the capacity there. So in the big picture, yes, the specific plan will include a look at all of those items. And then, as I noted, there are some specific needs in the form of a plan line study that we've done. This plan line study, and Steve, this is more of on the engineering side, and Steve can provide more detail if needed, but my understanding is the plan line study gives a very detailed analysis of what the actual street widths and all of the sidewalks and all of the infrastructure along that street, what it would look like, and it helps inform the planning process.
Thank you.
I get that right, Steve? I'm kind of going out of my league there.
Yeah, I got cut off on the internet and I heard about the last few words of what you had stated.
Yeah, I was just describing what a plan line study is, and that we would, as part of the specific plan, we would be completing an update to the existing plan line study that we have for Main Street, if we get the grant for that.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Okay. Thank you, Director Thomas, and apologize for veering out of the lane here. Question on I did not see peruse through the program. Do we currently have backup power for both the sanitary sewer and also the water systems? Sort of kind of LA Texas issues that we run into.
So I think it kind of depends. There are the Gibraltar pump station has a generator, I believe, to run that system. That's got the tanks. I believe there is a generator system at the tank at the sports center. I don't recall if the hillside systems have generator power. They don't have generator power. I believe they have basically like a plug for a portable or truck mounted generator. It could be plugged in, I believe. The main sewage pump station, I believe that does have a generator.
So the generator, so if we have a catastrophic event or fail, we were able to sustain for 24 hours, 48 hours, any sort of estimates, just in case?
Yeah, I don't recall the duration. Those are probably more questions for the Public Works Department, but
Sure.
You know, they will require fuel, so you know they're going to run until you know, fuel is depleted. But I do recall that we had contracts for refueling as needed and for emergencies as well.
Assume that's a diesel fueled generator.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Question, you know, it appears we have a sort of more of a frequency in terms of wildland fires. Is the wildland fire containment or preparation, is that part of a CIP program, or is it something else?
I don't recall that being a CIP.
Okay, all right. And on one of the slides that came up in the earlier presentation was the task fees that's funded, the 72.6 million approximate. Is that for the to be completed portion of the task infrastructure upgrade, or is this sort of completed for the complete portion?
Right. So the fees shown on the one slide, I believe that's the task fees collected to date. So they would be used for city infrastructure, and we continue to collect fees as new projects and development, you know, are completed within the city. Maybe you can help me out on that part of it, Ned.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that I have to add to that, unless there's a specific question from. I think.
So the question here is the 72.6 that's shown on the slide, 72.6 million. Is that for the project to be completed? That's already sort of in the books, ready to go.
That's correct. Yes. So the preparation, well, the existing trans area specific plan has one of the components that is called the basic infrastructure plan, and that basic infrastructure plan includes all of the infrastructure updates that would be made in the area. That includes streets, roads, parks, utilities, all of the improvements that are needed there to support the level of new development that is envisioned in the plan. And so as part of the current ongoing update of the transit area specific plan, also known as the Metro Plan, we will be developing a new basic infrastructure program for that area. And then we will recalculate the fee. But yeah, all of the existing funds in there go to support that. And I will note that a portion of that is what is being used for the cost of updating the plan itself. So there's a portion that can be used for the planning work. And I think I should put a little bit finer point on that and say that, when I say those costs of the infrastructure, a significant portion of that, for example, is if the plan is calling for new parks and obviously the city would need to purchase that land. And so just last year, for example, the city purchased a large parcel on Tarab Court. That a large portion of that will become parkland, but the other portion was needed for the landing of a new bridge that will be built over Penitentiary Creek to accommodate the extension of South Milpitas Boulevard. So that's a specific example of how those funds are used to purchase property, and then it will also be used to develop that bridge that is called for and all of the street improvements that are included as a part of the plan. So I think it's really it's really important to understand how when we talk about the task area, we sometimes look at all the new developments going on down there by private developers, but it's really a public-private partnership, because those developers pay the impact fees to the city, and then the city uses those the funds and the revenue generated to develop the projects many of the projects that are here in the CIP that pertain to the transit area. And so and that of course infrastructure is needed to support the development. So it's kind of circular, the development that we do of infrastructure supports development as well as continued development in that area.
Thank you, Director Thomas. And so on the same, this is, I guess that goes to both Director Erickson and Director Thomas. So with respect to the Gateway Midtown specific plan areas, as we're kind of diving into that particular site, are we anticipating some level of infrastructure upgrades, as that's one of the oldest infrastructure improvements within the city? And how would that be addressed? More like a TASP area kind of ways of addressing it?
Yeah, the TASP fees are only used in the TASP area.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I think I may have missed the part. Did you ask about a specific type of infrastructure?
So with the Midtown specific plan or the Gateway section that's being studied, we probably are we planning on any infrastructure improvements, within the updating part of the Midtown specific plan, and how are we planning out if there's an infrastructure that need to be placed in more than just on a property by property basis? Are we looking at possibly some program similar to what TASP has what we went through with TASP?
Yes, thank you. It's a very good question. You're correct. At present, the existing Midtown plan does not include an impact fee. But certainly because of the success of the transit area development impact fee, that idea has been raised and kicked around, and I fully anticipate that we will look at that as part of the Midtown plan update. So what's being called the Main Street Gateway plan.
Okay, thank you, sir. And our last question is on page 15 and 16. We talk about it also earlier in the slides with regards to the unfunded programs, the proposed programs. So these will become partially or in full funded through the fiscal year, or how can either Mr. Erickson or Savera elaborate on that?
This is Steve Erickson. I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, so on the CIP report, in the page 15 and 16,
right,
he spoke to the unfunded projects and programs. So those particular projects and programs, they will become funded through an automatic process as a, based on the calendar, or is this simply just kind of hanging out there?
Oh, okay, I understand. So, looking at page 15, for instance, of this CIP document, there's about 7.9 million in projects for fiscal year 22 to 23 that are shown as unidentified funding. And then for years 23, 24, that value goes up to 12.7, then 13 million for 24, 25. Then the final year 25, 26, it's shown as 36.4. So these are the amounts of funding that are not available for projects in the category shown. So what would happen is as the projects would move forward to the funded year, if funding is not found, those projects would either be canceled or they might be pushed out further until maybe they could be reevaluated in a future year. That's how the process works.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the response. And commissioners, any other questions?
I have a question, Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Galan.
Yeah, I have a question regarding about the funding. Do you know the difference, let's say 8 years ago, for parks and street repair or any repair for street? Does it increase every 4 years? The funding, for example, the parks and street repairs, does it increase every 4 years?
No, the funding sources are different for each type of project. So for street projects, we receive funding like through the state and the county. For instance, Measure B would be for street projects. Also, vehicle license fees that we receive a piece of that, and those amounts are used for the street projects, and the city's annual piece of that times is based on kind of a calculation, using the city's population. So it tends to kind of be stable, but does increase over the long term, so to speak. The project amount right now annually for street resurfacing projects like 4.2 or 4.6 million. So that's staying pretty consistent. Parks, they're funded through fees. So, and the park fees are obtained through development projects. So again, that stays for the TASP. We are collecting fees. That's where all the development is currently in the city. But other areas of the city, the older areas of the city, for instance, projects are more of an infill type, and so fees aren't really consistent. We're not receiving that amount, that much of park fund, for instance, every year. About 12 years ago, the city had a pretty healthy redevelopment agency, and most of our park funding was used, came from the RDA. However, the state canceled the RDAs approximately 10 years ago. And so, we're still suffering from that grab.
Is there a project, let's say there's a shortage of fund, do we have an emergency fund? Where do we get that? Do we have emergency fund?
So no, there's not. Right now, park funding is, project funding for parks is kind of a combination of what little park funding receive and the city's general fund.
How about for natural disaster? Do we have fund for that? Let's say earthquake.
I'm not aware. Those are questions I would defer you to the city's finance director.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Galan. Any other comments from commissioners? Okay. Seeing none, can I have a motion for this item?
Through the chair. I'm not sure. Was this a public hearing item?
Oh, my apologies. Thank you very much for a reminder. Thank you. So this item is a public hearing item, and Ms. Medina, do we have any public comments that's in the queue?
Hi, Chair. We have no We have no community members in the queue for public comment.
Okay, so can I have a motion to close the public
Move.
comments?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a Commissioner Galan motion and a Commissioner Alcorn second, and I'll go down the line for the vote. Commissioner Albana,
Aye.
Commissioner Sirdala, Commissioner Sirdala.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Galan,
Aye.
Commissioner Belong,
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn,
Aye.
Commissioner Tron.
Aye.
Chair's aye as well. So the public comments is closed. And commissioners, any comments, discussions, and if none, any motions, please. Vice Chair,
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
please.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-005, finding the proposed 2022 to 2026 capital improvement program is in conformance with the City of Milpitas general plan.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Chuan and a second by Commissioner Alcorn. So go down the line for the vote. Commissioner Albana.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Galan.
Aye.
Commissioner Sirdella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong.
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan.
Aye.
Chair, aye as well. Motion passes seven ayes. Thank you very much. And thank you, Director Erickson and Mr. Silvera, for your time this evening presenting the CIP project. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
having you here this evening. And we're on to the next public hearing item. This is the automatic car wash at 554 South Main Street. And Director Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And let me first thank the applicants for their patience while we work through that first item. And we are very pleased to bring this item forward to the Planning Commission tonight. It was originally scheduled for the Planning Commission hearing about a year ago, and then was continued at the request of the applicant. And recently they contacted staff and informed us that they would like to move forward. So we have it on our agenda tonight. It is a site development permit and a conditional use permit to allow the demolition of an existing car wash on Main Street. As you see the address here, 554 South Main Street. It's been there for a number of years, and the development of a new fully automatic car wash on the same site, which would include the automatic car wash vacuums and the ingress, egress, and landscaping and full site improvements for the project on that site. It's been, as I mentioned, it's been there a number of years. You're probably all very familiar with it. There is a request to allow an exception to the maximum front setback of 15 feet from the sidewalk. Our project manager, senior planner Rosalind Thompson, is here to present the staff report, and she will provide additional details about that one exception to the development standards in the Midtown plan. But with that, I'll turn it over to Rosalind. I believe the applicants are. Oh, I would also like to note that starting earlier this week and continuing right up until during this meeting, we have received a number of email messages from supporters of the project. We've received, up until this moment, I think Liz told me we received about 27 email messages. Many of those that we received prior to the meeting were forwarded to the commission. Those that were received during the meeting or after the meeting will be included as part of the public record. But I did want to acknowledge that we had received those, again, about 27 email messages, all in favor of the project. But with that, I'll turn it over to Rosalind for the staff report.
Ms. Thompson, before you start, if I may just interject real quick, if you can let the commission know who are the participants from the applicant side, though, that's also available this evening.
So for the applicant, I see that we have Dean Hansen, Joel Chapin, he's the architect, designer, Ramesh Saud, who's the owner, Gurbir Maroke, and I'm not sure if Gurbir is one of the owners as well, and Jai Kalan.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. Welcome. And if you will go ahead, please.
Okay. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. As Planning Director Thomas indicated, the item before you requests a site development permit and a use permit amendment to demolish an existing car wash and construct a new automatic car wash at 554 South Main Street. In this presentation, I will give a brief overview of the project, followed by the project's history, give a summary of the staff's analysis, and conclude staff's recommendation. Again, the applicant will have a presentation for the commission after staff's presentation. Next slide, please. The applicant requests a site development permit to demolish an existing manual coin-operated car wash and construct a new fully automatic 3,189 square foot car wash with an additional 2,301 square foot canopy area for vacuums, and a conditional use permit amendment to amend conditional use permit number 78, which allows a car wash and permit an increased front setback of 37 feet 7 inches. Next slide. Here's the project vicinity map. The project site is zoned mixed use and is located in the Midtown specific plan area. The site is 0.46 acres, rectangle shaped, and developed with the existing car wash situated near the western boundary of the parcel. Surrounding land uses include commercial buildings to the north and west, a vacant parcel to the south, and a self-storage use to the east. Vicinity and location maps to the subject site locations are included. Next slide. The site is currently developed with a manual coin-operated car wash that was constructed in 1967. On November 25th, 1964, the Planning Commission approved use permit number 78 and site plan approval to construct the manual car wash on the then vacant parcel. The approved 2,131 square foot car wash consisted of 4 A-frame manual bays with the second and third manual bays adjoined by a roof structure to create a pedestrian walkway. On March 6, 1980, the Planning Commission approved an S-zone application, which is a former entitlement, which is currently now a site development permit, application to allow architectural remodeling of the west facade of the existing coin-operated car wash. Upper fascias were introduced on the front facades of the wash bays, and wood shingles were installed throughout the car wash structure, including the roof, upper fascia, and pedestrian walkway. The S-zone application also consisted of new 3-foot-high fence along the southern and eastern property line. Over time, 4 self-service vacuum stalls have been added to the rear of the wash bays, and a 250 square foot storage container has been installed in the northeast corner of the site. Next slide. So this is the site plan of the proposed project. The new fully automatic 3,189 square foot car wash with an additional 2,301 square foot canopy area would be located adjacent to the north property line of the site. The project would retain 2 drive aisles on the lot, but would introduce a 127 foot queuing lane to accommodate circulation on the site. The entrance to the car wash would be near the rear of the site. The proposed canopy areas cover 8 parking stalls that serve as vacuum stations. The project also encompasses landscaping and lighting throughout the property, a sound wall along the northern property, and a sound wall along the northern property line. The car wash is proposed to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and will be staffed by 1 employee. Next slide, please. For the remainder of this presentation, I'll focus on analyzing the project's conformance with the Milpitas General Plan, Midtown Specific Plan, and Zoning Code. Relevant to this analysis is the applicable designations in the General Plan, Midtown Specific Plan, and Zoning Code. So the General Plan designation for the site is mixed use. The Midtown Specific Plan designation is mixed use, and the zoning designation is mixed use. Next slide. In the General Plan, the mixed use designation provides for commercial offices, retail and services, high density residential, and public and quasi-public uses. The project is only partially in conformance with the policies and standards in the city's general plan policies as set forth in the following policies on the next few slides. Next slide, please. The first policy, policy 2A I2, promotes development within the incorporated limits, which acts to fill in the urban fabric rather than providing costly expansion of urban services into outlying areas. The project is consistent with this policy because as an infill development, the project is within the urban fabric and will not increase the expansion of any urban services into outlying areas. Next slide, please. The second relevant general plan policy, policy 2AI3, encourages economic pursuits, which will strengthen and promote development through the stability and balance. Although the project replaces an existing outmoded manual coin-operated car wash with a new economically viable automated facility, staff concludes that it does not strengthen or promote a mixed-use character for the neighborhood. Next slide. The next relevant general plan policy is policy 2AI30, which requires developments in the Midtown area to conform to the adopted design guidelines and requirements contained in the Midtown specific plan. Staff has concluded that the project is partially consistent. While the building design and site improvements for the proposed car wash conform to the design guidelines and requirements as stipulated by the Midtown specific plan, the project exceeds the required maximum front building setback standard. Next slide. Given that the project is located in the Midtown specific plan area, it must be analyzed against the plan's vision, policies, and goals. The vision statement on page 1-4 of the Midtown specific plan states, the Milpitas Midtown specific plan presents a framework for growth, development, and reinvestment in the city's industrial and commercial core for the next 20 years. A transition of the area into an attractive and economically vital district that accommodates a mixture of housing, shopping, employment, entertainment, and cultural and recreational activities organized within a system of landscape boulevards, streets, and pedestrian bicycle linkages is envisioned. A pedestrian-oriented and easily accessible mixed-use district is planned along Main Street. This area is intended to serve as a gathering place for the community as a whole. Next slide. The Midtown specific plan outlines a number of goals and policies for existing and future land uses. They are the following: establishes a vision and outlines the goals and policies regarding existing and future land uses, development standards and regulations, and design guidelines to direct and promote future in the growth, development, and reinvestment in the city's historic commercial core. Contains implementation strategies, policies, development standards, and regulation and design guidelines to guide all future development in the area. The project's consistency with applicable goals, policies, and development standards is analyzed in the following slides. Next slide, please. The first applicable goal, Land Use Goal 1, encourages a compatible mixture of residential, retail, office, service-oriented commercial, and industrial uses within the Midtown specific plan area. The project is inconsistent with this goal. The proposed automatic car wash use attempts to address this policy by locating vehicular queuing on site rather than on Main Street, screening vacuums and other equipment from the right-of-way, and introducing landscaping to provide additional screening from the right-of-way. But the more significant issue is that an auto-oriented use at this site is inconsistent with the larger vision for the area as a cohesive, pedestrian-oriented, mixed-use neighborhood under the Midtown specific plan. Next slide. The next applicable Midtown goal, Community Design Goal 1, achieves to create an attractive district that is uniquely Milpitas. The project is inconsistent with this goal. Main Street is intended to be developed in a unique manner that distinguishes it from other commercial areas in the city. The Midtown specific plan envisions Main Street as a traditional pedestrian-oriented downtown, and an auto-oriented use, such as a car wash, does not support that vision. Next slide. The project is also inconsistent with the next goal, Community Design Goal 2. Community Design Goal 2 aims to establish a pedestrian-oriented mixed-use district that is focused along Main Street. The project maintains the existing automobile-oriented use, a car wash, which is contrary to the vision of the area as a pedestrian-oriented mixed-use area under the Midtown specific plan. Next slide. As to community design goal 4, which aims to improve the character of streets within the Midtown area, the project is partially consistent. While the proposed new car wash would significantly upgrade the existing facilities and will improve the character of the street in the short term, the building setback exception and driveways will not further the long-term vision for Main Street as a mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented corridor. Next slide. The next 3 slides will address the project's consistency with applicable Midtown policies. Land Use Policy 310 designates parcels along Main Street and Able Street mixed use and allows a mixture of retail, office, housing, service, and public quasi-public uses in this area. The project is inconsistent with this policy. While a car wash can be considered a service uses in a Main Street or downtown setting are typically complementary uses located within buildings that support retail stores, restaurants, offices, and housing. A car wash does not complement the desired land mix along Main Street. Next slide. The project is also inconsistent with Land Use Policy 315, which allows existing legally established service businesses to remain within the area as conforming uses because the proposed project is an expansion and intensification of an existing use that requires an approval of an amendment of an existing CUP, which is a discretionary action. Denial of the CUP would not affect the ability of the existing car wash to continue as a legal conforming use. Next slide. Plan 5.3 aims to promote high-quality private development that contributes to the visual identity and environmental quality of the Midtown area through the application of the development standards and design guidelines. The project is partially consistent with this goal. While the proposed new building and site design are consistent with most development standards and guidelines for the Midtown area, it would require an exception for the front yard building setback. In addition, the nature of the use as an automobile-oriented business would not further the desired visual identity of Midtown as a pedestrian-oriented area. Next slide. As for the zoning code allows vehicle service uses in the MXD zoning district subject to approval of a conditional use permit. Any expansion of a conditionally permitted use requires an amendment of the existing CUP. Construction of the new car wash also requires a site development permit. Next slide. Except for the front yard setback, the proposed project is consistent with other applicable development standards in the MXD, including side and rear yard setbacks, height and parking. And I included this table to show just how the project complies with the front yard setback or the side yard setback requirement, the rear yard setback requirement, building height, and parking. Next slide. The findings for a conditional use permit are the following. The proposed use at the proposed location will not be detrimental or injurious to property or improvements in the vicinity, nor to the public health, safety, and general welfare. 2, the proposed use is consistent with the Milpitas general plan. 3, the proposed use is consistent with the Milpitas zoning ordinance. And 4, the proposed use is consistent with the Midtown specific plan. Next slide. Exceptions to the standards may be approved by the Planning Commission upon review of a use permit in accordance with the requirements of the zoning code. A, the deviation from the Midtown specific plan standard meets the design intent identified within a specific plan and does not detract from the overall architectural, landscaping, and site planning integrity of the proposed development. And B, the deviation from the Midtown specific plan standard allows for a public benefit not otherwise obtainable through the strict application of the design standard. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that the project does not meet any of these findings. Next slide. The findings for site development permit are the following. The layout of the site and design of the proposed buildings, structures, and landscaping are compatible and aesthetically harmonious with the adjacent and surrounding development. 2, the project is consistent with the Milpitas zoning ordinance. 3, the project is consistent with the Milpitas general plan. And 4, the proposed use is consistent with the Midtown specific plan. Staff recommends that the project does not meet any of these findings. Next slide. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission open and close the public hearing, and adopt resolution 19-034 denying site development permit PSD 18-0010 and conditional use permit amendment number PUP 18-0020. And the conditional use permit amendment covers both the expansion of the car wash and the 37-foot 7-inch setback. That concludes staff support on this item. I am available for any questions that the Planning Commission may have.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. And this point in time, I would like to also welcome the applicant to do a quick presentation. So which member of the applicant team will do the presentation?
Mr. Chair, that'll be myself, Joel Chapin,
Great.
project architect.
Welcome, and please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Is everybody able to see my screen?
You're good.
Fantastic.
There we go.
Awesome. Mr. Chair, commissioners and staff, I thank you for this opportunity to come before you this evening to present this project on behalf of the ownership group. It has been a long time coming, and we appreciate the patience as well as the help that staff has given us. We look forward to your comments and addressing any questions or comments or concerns that you may have. So in looking at the, is this gonna, oh, it's not gonna let me, there we go. In evaluating the existing conditions as we were working with the developers, the owners of this thing, they really want to reinvest in the city of Milpitas. They want to be good neighbors. They want to be your friends. They want to be businessmen and contribute to the beautification of the Midtown area and Milpitas as a whole. So we started looking at the existing site conditions, and what we noticed was there were a number of things that are not consistent with the existing Midtown plan and also are just not great pedestrian friendly features. And we're looking to address those. So some of the things that we noticed are there is no landscaping on the site. It is pretty much 100% paved. That paving is old and worn. There is not a trash enclosure on site. So dumpsters are just out in plain view. There's inadequate lighting. So that leads to even if it's open 24 hours a day, there's areas of darkness. There's not enough light for security or things that can detract from a pedestrian friendly environment. There's poor circulation on site. Right now, the owners have indicated in the past that they average about 200 cars on a busy day throughout the day. And with 4 bays, that can lead to some queuing issues. And at times that actually backs up onto Main Street. There's also the noise issue. What they're finding right now is with a manual corner op as well as the manual vacuums that users are on site on average from 20 to 30 minutes at a time. Those people are using the machines, they're using the vacuums. They may open their doors, play their music as they're drying. And so it becomes a cacophony of sound. Again, that does not really promote a pedestrian friendly environment or, is a good neighbor policy with those that are around us. It also doesn't have any real green sustainable solutions. As a manual car wash, it lacks the technology that we have now to reclaim water. It doesn't have any solar use. There's a lot of heat island effect because we don't have any really shade or tree shade or anything that to just kind of block the absorption and the reflection of heat off those off the blacktop. So we also looked at the site just from a elevation perspective, and you can see these 4 1960s A-frame corn ops. To use the words of the owners, these are kind of junky, and we would like to replace them with something that is more state-of-the-art, that is more handsome, that is going to enhance the character of the site and be a better product, a better service, and be a valuable asset to the neighborhood, not only the commercial uses, but the residential uses that are nearby. You can see right now we have overhead power, overhead utilities. The plans call for those to be relocated underground. You can see again, there's no landscaping. The trash enclosure currently is right behind this truck if you were to go out there and find it. Again, there's inadequate lighting. You can see there's no lighting along the street right there, aside from any type of city-owned street lights. And then there's no pedestrian walkways back onto the site that invites a pedestrian back there. The site doesn't really have, accessible parking or other types of accessible features. So when we looked at the plan, what we tried to do is take what the Midtown specific plan, just kind of the overall concept, the big ideas with that, understanding that this is an automotive use. It is not going to be a pedestrian friendly use like a restaurant may be, but it does provide a valuable asset to all of the people that are coming to Midtown to use the restaurants, to use the existing commercial and office space that is there, as well as providing opportunities for those that are living in nearby residential who may not have an opportunity to wash their car on site. So we've provided increased landscape areas. We've added a trash enclosure. We're providing and proposing all new paving on site with decorative paving at our driveways to enhance the pedestrian feel. We're also using permeable paving to assist with the water runoff, the drainage, and so that the water on site is not being dumped into our sewer systems and the city water systems. We're updating lighting on the site, and we are improving site circulation so that all of our queuing and on-site functionality remains on site. We're not backing up into Main Street. And I'll get into one of the reasons why we are looking at or asking for the 37'7" setback as opposed to the 15 here in the second slide. We're reducing noise. The new technology and the new wash equipment is substantially quieter. It's also going to be housed in a CMU building. And because it's a car wash, people don't have to get out of their cars to not only wash or dry their cars. So you don't have radios blaring. You don't have a large amount of just general noise from people using it. We are using green solutions. Again, I mentioned we are reclaiming water. So the new car wash technology uses less water than your traditional wash using a hose in your driveway. We're also proposing solar panels on this project to help offset some of the energy costs. There will be an employee on site. The current space and this current operation does not have an employee. So having an employee on site provides an additional level of security and a maintenance and operations and just oversight of what's happening on site. Again, this provides an additional level of pedestrian comfort and beautification. Because it's an automated car wash, we are compliant with any of the COVID or future, hopefully we don't have any pandemic restrictions, but everybody can remain in their car. There's technology where you can use your app to, as a membership or, with a pay, you don't necessarily have to get out and interact with other people. So we're staying safe there. We are providing a number of safety improvements as we talked about. We are screening the parking. This is a compromise that we made with working with the planning staff. That way there is a screen that is up facing South Main Street to help hide some of the cars that would be using that vacuum station. And all of our parking is parallel with Main Street. So you're looking at a side of cars, everything is a single line, as opposed to having all the cars being perpendicular to South Main Street. Again, reducing the impact of cars and this off the street. We have a pedestrian path that leads from the public right-of-way to the office. That path is separate from the vehicle path, and that runs along the north elevation there. And this has accessible parking. We've provided an accessible building. There's an accessible restroom that will be inside. We've increased and enhanced the street perspective, and we're continuing to be a good neighbor and serve our nearby commercial and residential tenants. The elevations, as you can see here, are a dramatic improvement from what is there currently. This is a handsome architecture with articulated heights in terms of parapets and canopies. We have wall plane changes that introduce a variety of shadow lines, and it's not just a giant big box. We have durable materials consistent with the Midtown plan. So we're recommending a wainscot of CMU We have cement plaster above that. And then on this front elevation that immediately faces the parking stalls, we're using again, a split-faced CMU is what we're proposing. But to break down the scale and bring it less utilitarian and make it feel more like it's a part of the character of the surrounding areas, we're recommending a 4 by 4 inch high, so it'd be 4 by 8 by 16 CMU stacked. And so it looks a little bit more architectural than a utilitarian CMU wall. Plus it's going to be vandal resistant. We have a anti-graffiti coating on those. We are extending the canopy over the parking stalls. This helps to bring in the parking stalls, the cars, into what feels like the mass of the building. Again, trying to hide those and minimize the automotive use. That canopy also provides a substantial amount of shade for the site and gives a presence to the site. So we're extending the building horizontally as well as towards the street. Our wash bays the entrances face away from Main Street, which is consistent with the Main Street or Midtown plan. This is similar to what the Taco Bell just up the street did, where their drive-through is on the backside and they exit out the front. We're using compatible colors and materials that's harmonious with the adjacent properties. And as I mentioned, we're using the green solutions. We also would like to point out one of the concessions that we made was working with staff is our north elevation, which is that middle elevation there on the street. Even though this elevation likely will never be seen because of its proximity to the property line and the adjacent building and a 6-foot high CMU wall, we have pilasters on that as well as green screens. So we do not have a blank void elevation. This is truly a 4-sided building. And then we have incorporated decorative sconces as well as windows. So even though there is an equipment bay, we have windows that will give the impression that this is something that is very approachable. And at night, light can shine out through those windows. So it'll look like somebody's there and it'll just have this wonderful non-utilitarian feature. The reason why we wanted to have that 37'7" setback, and it's not that we wanted to ignore the requirements of the 15-foot setback, is we actually took a look at it, and what we found is 15 feet is less than your standard parking stall. It's less than the length of most cars. And the way that this automated systems work, if you've ever used one, the dryer is the last thing before you exit the wash tunnel. And usually that process, you kind of creep out and wash the whole car. So at 15 feet, if you were to use that and use the dryer, the front of your car is going to encroach into the public right of way before your wash cycle and your dry cycle is finished. And you might have a car that is sitting there impeding pedestrian traffic. So by moving the wash bay back and giving us that 37'7", we can accommodate cars 2 car lengths deep before we hit the public right of way. Someone can exit the wash tunnel and not be able to interfere with any pedestrians that may be walking along Main Street. The other thing that happens is our post-wash is the optional vacuum use that usually happens after the wash. And what we have done is we have provided a circulation path so you can exit the wash bay and you would make a left-hand turn and then you would be able to wind over to the vacuum stalls. If we were to move the building up to the 15-foot setback, that eliminates that functional circulation, and it would put the circulation from the wash bay back to the vacuum stalls out onto Main Street, which would mean cars would potentially be backing up, or you have more opportunities for near miss collisions with not only cars, but pedestrians using Main Street as your circulation for functionality. In either case, you would still be required to have 2 driveways. 15 feet doesn't give us enough room to turn a car and exit without impeding it over and driving over the public right of way. So we would still need the two driveways on that one. In light of this, we wanted to just bring to your attention and ask that you would consider finding what staff found in their initial staff report dated November 13th, 2019, where staff recommended that the Planning Commission open and close the public hearing and adopt resolution number 19034, approving the site development permit PSD 18-0010 and the conditional use permit amendment number PUA 18-0010, subject to the attached conditions of approval. This didn't make it to you guys because the project was continued by another department within the city prior to us coming before you initially. We think that this project is largely the same as it was then. We've made a couple compromises with staff to improve the project, adding the screening, for example. But the overall context, the overall design intent of this project remains the same. Staff supported it then. We asked that not only would you take in their initial support, but we would ask that you would find that the benefits that this project brings to the pedestrian scale as a valuable asset to the community, as an industrial use or a reinvestment use to the community in the immediate area, as well as a draw to those that are coming into the Midtown area, and that our owners are investing I think they were talking about $1 million or more into this project, and they're here for the long haul. And they're gonna, this project is gonna be a valuable resource for the community, and we hope that you would find that. Thank you for your time. I'm gonna ask if you have any questions or if there's anything that I can clarify. But that's my presentation to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. We appreciate your presentation this evening, and commissioners, I'm going to just ask the commissioners one by one for questions to both the planning staff. And the thing that planning staff I'll refer to as a collective of Director Thomas and the planners Jessica Garner, as well as Rosalind Thompson. And also afterwards, we also have from traffic, Mr. Steve Chan, and from fire, Assistant Chief Zamora, also here for staff questions. So with that said, I'll go ahead and call on the Commissioner Albana. Do you have any questions for staff and also the applicant at this point?
Thank you, Chair. That was a very good presentation. Thank you. I was going to ask about the traffic. What about we're expecting, how many do you expect to be the traffic coming in this project? Would there be an impact in the traffic?
There may be a little bit. It's not substantial. We did have a full traffic report and study done. What we found is we would anticipate, again, approximately that same 200 use. And our owners are here, and they can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe just give me a thumbs up if you're still anticipating 200. Yep, they're telling me yes. And the other benefit of that is, this car wash is going to turn out, go from a 20 to 30 minute effort, go down to 3 to 5 in a wash bay, and then maybe 10 if you add the vacuuming. So we're going to have considerable less traffic problems, especially because we're having all of the queuing on site. And all of our on-site circulation is happening on site, whereas now it's just it's a mess if you have been by it.
Thank you. Just for now, that will be my question. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Gallant, questions?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Regarding about the water, do you recycle the water they use? Do you have a recycling?
The new system will, yes.
Okay. And then you're saying that this is a full car wash, correct? You don't have to go out from your car. You can stay in your car.
That's correct. Yep. You would enter in the queue, use the pay station and or an app, and then that would, as you enter the wash bay, it's a fully automated wash system.
So how many staff? You mentioned that you will have staff present. Is it just 24 hours staff being present? 24 hours? You mentioned that there's a staff going to be present during day and night, or 24 hours? There's somebody there, right?
There
I'm
there
going to
will
look
be
to,
two
yep.
people at a time.
Go
At
ahead,
least 2 people in a shift in the night time, and at least 3 or 4 in the daytime.
Nighttime means until, like, there's somebody 24 hours, right?
24 hours, yes.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have any employee there.
Do you have a CCTV? Are you planning to put a CCTV?
Yes, we're going to have, right now, we don't have anything, but we're going to have everything, alarm, CCTV, all the technology, latest technology, we're going to have everything there.
How about the actually the engine? Do you go wash the engine also, or just the exterior part of the car? Correct.
Exterior part of the car, that's it.
Oh, okay. I'm just concerned about the bystander. During nighttime, maybe they can during the slow hours, and maybe they can drive there and then park somewhere and gather. Do you have any?
No, nobody can park there because the employee is going to be there, that's a security to check everything in the site.
Yeah, we don't allow in the
Okay.
business people to come and stay there. No.
Why you want a car wash? Maybe this is the high tech or high tech type of car wash.
This
Why
is
you
a car
choose
wash,
car wash that
it's
big?
still car wash.
Do you make a lot of revenue for this car wash? I'm just
Okay.
curious because
Let me tell
there's
you,
a lot
sir,
of
because
business.
this car wash is about 60 years old technology, and we are happy with that. We are making enough money as it is right now, but we have a passion to make new technology, up-to-date technology. We have other car wash too, and we are very experienced in this business. My partner and us very experienced with business. If you don't do it, it's gonna stay like that. But I don't like the junky stuff. And when you are passing through that road, Main Street, it's really eyesore. And we have passion to make new technology. We have 3-4 car wash with new technology, all high tech things. The other thing, the people come over here right now. Sometimes they bring their own chemicals. Those are not environmentally friendly. But we're going to have everything inside the tunnel is going to be all environmentally friendly, and nothing is going to go in the sewer line. All the water is we're going to reclaim it or recycle it.
Yeah.
The other thing, right now we don't have any employee there. When we have full automatic car wash, we're going to have 2-3 employees. We're going to give employment to the people over for the city. At least 10-12 people going to work there in 3 shifts.
Actually, sir, I used to do my car in your area, in that area. Last year, many times. What type of machine do you use? Are you going? Is it going to be the same machine from other car wash, like
Technology is changing every day, and we're going to have the latest technology, latest machines. Everything is the latest.
Because I've seen I've heard some complain that after the car wash, there's some dent in their car, there's a scratch in the mirror. Is it safe to go there?
No, it won't happen. No.
No, it's a very high technology. There's sensors there. They watch every minute, and no accident happens. And the fiber and all the technology, the waxes which car can be good for years and years. Because almost 60 years we're using the same technology with hard water and soap, and people are suffering. They damaging their car because every technology from last 60 years so much changed. We want to give to the people latest stuff which they can have. They deserve very, very good quality with the very nice fabrics. It's amazing. It's a state of the art thing. People won't even know when the car is in, and car is so clean and dried. So it's a beautiful thing. And it's, we have to go with the technology. It's already 60 years we're giving the people same old junk, and we're ruining their cars basically, and people are using it, but we want to give them the latest, and they deserve very, very nice technology.
And one more thing regarding the setback, 15 feet setback, Next door, they build a brand new building there for the animal hospital. That's almost 50 feet. They have 50 feet setback from the road, from the sidewalk. We are asking only 37 feet.
So
they built a brand new building just now. It's still building there. And that has more than 50 feet setback from the sidewalk. We're just asking 37 feet.
You mentioned that you have 4 staff on the busy hours and then 2 staff on the slow.
Yes, yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Do you have staff that like look like in the outside during the car wash, like just to check if how just go around and check the
They will be taking rounds all the time.
oh, good. And then do you have any in the emergency button? That's something your machine
But they don't
fail?
have anything to do inside the tunnel when the car
No, what
goes
I'm
in.
saying is
Yeah.
your machine, if something, let's
They
say,
do
fail,
all the
there's
work.
some technical problem and it fell on a car. Is there any button that for emergency something, or how do you respond that?
So just to add a point in there, right? So there are cameras inside the tunnels also. So if something happens, right? I mean, there is proof, whatever happened, and we can take adequate action. I mean, that was your question, right? If something happens.
Yes, that's my question. Yes.
So the cameras will also be inside the tunnel. That's the way we have it in the existing car washes that we have in other places.
My question also is, do you have any like an emergency button is something, fail, let's say your machine drop or something or collapse at the top of the car and you will be in panic. Maybe the machine is still running in the wrong direction. Do you have any emergency button that you can press?
There is a stop button to stop the car wash completely. One button.
Oh, there is.
One button can stop the whole car wash.
Okay. So every site there's a stop, emergency stop, right?
There is a technology right now. That camera is inside the tunnel. If one car stop, whole not moving, something wrong with the car, whole car wash gonna stop.
So
That detects that.
Are you using cloth? How do you dry the car? How do you dry the car?
Air dryer.
Air dry.
Yes.
And a wax also? Is it part of that?
It does everything inside the tunnel.
This is not the coin operated car wash anymore, right?
The one I have is a coin operated, but it's not a coin operated.
So when you go inside, you have to pay. You don't have to go out from your car. You have to pay. Where are you going to pay?
There's a pay
car wash?
station, automatic pay station.
Okay.
That when they pay, they open the gate, the car can go in.
So every car, like have a small car and it's a medium car and an SUV. I think the same charge. Same.
They have different charges for the SUV and small cars.
And Commissioner Gallant, if I may just interrupt for a minute and go ahead and circle back to you, and we'll go ahead and allow other commissioners go ahead and ask a few questions for the moment. Commissioner Ciradella. Commissioner Ciradella. And also,
there we go.
Okay, so Commissioner Ciradella, if I can just do a quick reminder, just in terms of the questions, if we can be focused on the land use and the site development aspect of it for our pertaining questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, really, the only question I was concerned about is the noise from the blowers. Are they a lot quieter than a normal car wash, and also the vacuums?
Yes, they are. There's a noise study that we provided as part of our application.
Yes.
And we're below the allowable thresholds. And they are, because it's new technology, they are substantially quieter than the old traditional vacuums and air dryers.
Okay, because I was still concerned because there's restaurants there and a park right down the street, and hopefully some more residential that'll be going in, and, I don't want to have it as a deterrent to the noise.
Like the noise
That's
doesn't
what I was
even go
concerned
more than
about.
10 feet from the.
I understand that you did a noise study, but still,
Yeah,
I just have that concern.
And that's the equipment is going to be inside the tunnel, all the equipments, nothing is on the outside.
The
So-
one we are using.
So you're
very
trying to tell me that the door is going to be shut or what?
The door is going to stay open when it's in operation.
But it is inside the tunnel, maybe 10 feet behind the exit. So you hardly hear anything outside.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I have a comment on that question. Thank you. So through the chair, Commissioner Ciudadela, your question is an excellent one. It's definitely related to some of the concerns that staff had, and certainly not the only reason, but it puts a fine point on the reason for our recommendation for denial of this project. Again, we talk in terms of the broad long-term vision for the development of Main Street, and certainly that vision calls for mixed use and residential development along this corridor. And noise is one of our primary concerns, and the incompatibility that would be there for neighboring, if a residential development, which is what it's for, adjacent to this property, would be incompatible with the noise. With that said, I will say the new general plan contains a noise element. So one of the chapters is specifically related to noise. It's required, one of the required chapters in our general plan, required by the state. And that element of the general plan sets certain noise thresholds for all uses within the city. And the proposed car wash would need to be consistent with that noise threshold in the general plan. And that is something that was looked at when we talk about noise study. The city sets the threshold, and then the proposed use must meet or be under that threshold, which this project does.
Thank you.
So Commissioner Ciudadela, sounds like you're finished with the questions.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Belong.
Yes. So thank you, Chair. I heard earlier that you guys are anticipating 200 cars a day crossing the threshold of the sidewalk. To me, that sounds excessive. I've been down Main Street, and I don't think 200 cars go in and out of the current car wash. That could change with it being automated, and maybe with the shorter queue time of how long it takes to get your car washed. But does anyone know how many cars are going in and out of Taco Bell, which is a few, I guess, parcels down? Is that when they did the traffic study, was that considered? Or what the surrounding businesses, how many cars are going in and out of the, locations?
I believe the traffic study would only be for this specific site. Rosalind or Steve Chan might be able to speak more clearly on that. But so the answer is no, we don't do a comparative study. I would point out that, again, this is another excellent question. One of the reasons why staff found that this is not compatible with a vision for a pedestrian-oriented environment is because a car-oriented use, like a car wash, introduces a significant increase in car traffic across that sidewalk. And we had several discussions with the applicant around the use of two driveways and how two driveways makes that less pedestrian oriented, if you will. With that said, of course, I think the applicant made a very persuasive argument that the addition of new landscaping on the site and other amenities, somewhat mitigates that change from and currently it's an auto-oriented use, but I would like to clarify that the idea behind the Main Street or the Midtown plan, the specific plan for the area, and in its vision for pedestrian-oriented environment, envisions that this type of a auto or a vehicle-oriented use would slowly transition to something that is more compatible with pedestrian in a vibrant pedestrian environment.
Thank you, Director. And Commissioner Belong.
And also, during the traffic study, was there any discussion of how exiting the property? Are they allowed to cross over and go left, crossing traffic, or is it going to be a right turn only exit from the building?
I believe that maybe it's that's addressed in the fire memo, and also that will be a Mr. Steve Chen's question. So since you've inquired, Mr. Chen, are you available?
Yes, I am. The proposed site will have the unrestricted left in and left, right in, right out, as well as left in and left out from those two, from one of the driveway, and a right out or right left out on the other driveway. So similar to other driveway access along Main Street.
Okay, so just like it's currently, the way it is currently.
Not exactly, because there's two driveway. One is two-way access, and the other one is a exit only driveway.
Okay. I mean, if the project was to go, I'd like to see it as a right turn only from the property, and just to alleviate the traffic of people waiting to try and cross the cross traffic. But as far as the noise goes, I mean, with it being open 24 hours a day, if I want to go get my car washed at 3 in the morning and I want to, after I'm done getting my car drive, pull over and get my, start vacuuming my car at 3 in the morning. I mean, what's the, I'm just curious because I mean, I've been to car washes before and it seems like the vacuums can be pretty loud. So there's not going to be any kind of time frame on it. Is there any reason why 24 hours a day is needed?
Because we have right now, it's a 24-hour days. Regarding the traffic, I tell you right now, we are doing almost 200 cars a day. And there's no queue stacking lane over there. In the weekend, most of the time, the cars lined up on the main street, and that's a more traffic hazard. But when we have, because right now the car takes more than 20 to 30 minutes to do one car. When we have brand new automatic car that take only 5 to 10 minutes maximum. And we have stacking lane over there. There will be nobody will staying in the main street. In the weekend right now, if you go somewhere, sometime there, the people are still lined up on the main street to get into the car wash. So that will solve that problem too, for the traffic problem.
So also there is no noise because we have the motor somewhere else, and where the vacuums are, there are only hoses, and people don't see anything. There's no noise coming from the vacuums. They're so quiet.
And for right now, it's open 24 hours. So right now, if people come in at 3 a.m., you'll hear the radio, the vacuum will be going on. So you'll still, I mean, the noise is still there right now.
Right now, we have more noise because we have 6 vacuum there.
Yeah.
They all vacuums outside.
Yeah.
When we have new car wash, the whole big vacuum machine is going to be inside the tunnel, inside the building, and you won't hear that outside. You will hear the hoses blowing.
And also we get complaint from the nearest Indian stores and all that people are scared to walk through that at the evening time because they feel some kind of a very noise and all. They're not very comfortable. There's no lighting. And they say rather take a car instead of walking. So it's not very pedestrian friendly right now. It's a very scary place to walk around.
We are trying to make it a best for the city and best for the community over there.
And I think I'm going to upset the chair, but I'm just curious. You said that it's an app-based car wash as well as a where you can pull up and pay.
Yes.
Yep. So we have an app. You don't even have to get out of the car. You can have the app and you can download the app and pay on that. Your car will just go through. You don't need to even come out of the car. You don't even have to slide your credit card. You can give you membership, or you can go on our website and just, permanently you can just drive through it. You don't have to even open the window.
Commissioner Belong, if I may just interrupt you for 1 second for Director Thomas on the hours of operation, clarification.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Tao. I just wanted to point out to members of the commission that while it's true that the existing car wash is open 24 hours a day and there's noise there today, this is a new application. And so as part of your review of this application, if you decide to proceed forward, it is within your purview to set hours of operation for the new development. We don't do that for the existing development. In a way, we say it's grandfathered. But because we're reviewing this as a new application, you may want to do that. Again, this speaks directly to the issue of compatibility with this land use, with not only existing land uses there, but potential future land uses. And again, I would inform you that the properties adjacent to immediately to the south, there's a vacant lot, are zoned for mixed use and residential development. So it would be perfectly appropriate to impose hours of operation, whatever you feel is appropriate for this use. And I would add that while the vacuums may be contained within a building or within site, and certainly new vacuums are much less noisy than the existing ones that are there. So that's definitely an improvement. Whenever you have coming and going of cars, and I'm sure all of you, if you have your windows open at night in the summertime and car goes by, you hear it. So with a vehicle-oriented use like this, if you have even 1 or 2 or 5 cars coming in and out during the night, people will talk, they may play their music loud. And as city staff, we would like to avoid those types of potential conflicts and incompatibility. So I just wanted to point that out as something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Director Thomas. And Commissioner Belong, returning back to you.
Back to the planning director, would that be the same for a right turn only leaving the property? Is that in our preview, or?
Oh, I may defer to Steve Chan on that. I believe it is, but could we impose that type of a condition, Steve? Right in, right out for the exit?
Yes, similar to what we did for a recent application for Stratford School. We can also do that for this project.
Director Thomas, if I may, pardon me for interjecting here. In the police department memo, it noted that all exits to the facility should be posted with appropriate signage to restrict left turns, such as right turn only. So that was that's at the bottom of the police memo. So that is a police recommendation with that alleviating. This is alleviating congestions and whatnot.
Thank you.
So I just want to clarify that since I'm looking at it.
Thank you. And thank you for pointing that out. And I might ask Rosalind, that may have made its way into the conditions of approval. Did it? Or we could add it if it's not.
It should be there. If it's not there, we can definitely add it.
Thank you. Commissioner Belong, floor is yours.
And just from my knowledge, I get my car washed all the time. Is this going to be a brushless, or is it going to be the type where it's just the spray on?
It's going to be with the soft brushes.
The soft brushes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And sorry, Chair, I know that wasn't.
That's okay.
But that's all I have for now. Thank you.
We're gonna have distilled water too at the end of the car wash. Your car is gonna wash with the distilled. I'm not.
So we use very
soft water
to clean
water,
the car.
Clean water.
And you will never have any. You can go for years and years with the nice paint and everything. Then we use filtered water, which will never leave a spot on your car. Yeah. Because right now we're using hard water, which is very dangerous for the car.
Paint, yeah.
Really damage the car, but there will be no spotless, spot-free wash, and then we'll dry it out, and car will be like with the wax and everything. The front car washes we have, the people come from years. They have still kept very nice new cars.
Thank you, Mr. Moroki. We appreciate your comment. Commissioner Belong, you're good?
I'm good. Thank you, Chair. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a point of clarification.
Please.
So actually, discussing the resolution. So currently our resolution is for denial. So if the planning commission wishes to consider approving the project, then yes, that police memo can be included as one of the conditions of approval.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. And going to Commissioner Elkhorn, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few questions here. First question is, where are you getting the number, the 200 number, 200 daily uses? Where are you getting that number?
That's what we have right now. You know, we are running the car wash. So how many cars we do, we have the record. You know,
Okay, but how are you getting that data?
How are we getting the data? We average it out, you know, how much per car how much money we make. So we average divide by the number of cars, and then that we come up to the data. And even personally, we, you know, go and count the cars, you know, on day basis. So there's so many ways to figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, because if you want to do like a full wash of the car, you actually need to run the cycle like 4 times to get like a full wash of the car. I go there frequently, so one full cycle, it's not nearly enough for a whole car if you want to actually wash it.
Right. We average out.
You run it like 4 times. So I was asking because if you're getting the data from how many quarter cycles you're getting, it's not accurate at all. And so I'm wondering, that's why I was wondering how you got, unless you have someone there for 24 hours and they're counting every car that comes in, and you do that quite a few times. I don't know, with the technology you have there, you can actually get an accurate count of how many uses you get per day. You can probably get like a feel for how busy it is, but I don't know if you'll be able to get an actual count. But anyways, moving on, how do you think this, so I've been in Milpitas for over 20 years. And so the current place right now is kind of really well known in Milpitas. And so I'm wondering, since a lot of people go there because they like the manual car wash aspect, how do you think that if you switch it to automatic, with there being a couple automatic car washes very close by, how do you think the business would hold up? Do you think the market's there for another automated car wash? Because there's one like right down the street too.
Yeah, I think there is, yes, there is a market for that.
Yeah, I think a number of people, when they stop by, so I go there pretty often, and you may have seen me there. I go there for cash collection and, you know, getting the coins out and then putting them into the vending machine. So a number of them have mentioned to me that, when are you guys going to upgrade this, right? So there is definitely a market for this. I mean, you know, so there's always a give and take, but overall we think definitely, right, looking at the feedback from people, that there is a market for this.
We talked to people, we stood there and we discussed with people, how about would you like to have a new car wash here, something like that, and they loved it, because in the weather, you know, they have to go through, some people have no choice, they have to go through that you know, all kind of weather condition, and you see sometimes ladies struggling, and it's very hard to, but when we tell them that the kind of car wash we're gonna build, and they love it.
Okay.
And people are gonna switch to, and they will enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you talk to people who
we personally stood there. I personally went there.
A lot of the people I know, they even the ones that moved away, they now try and find manual car washes because they grew up using that one, and that's the ones they like. But interesting. So at what point in time do you see the traffic back up onto Main Street? Because not only do I go there, but I actually drive Main Street every single day, quite often, sometimes multiple times a day. And I have never in 20 years once seen the traffic back up onto Main Street. So what time does that happen?
Right. I can probably address that, right? So if you go there on weekends, right, you know,
I go there.
Right. So weekends during the peak hours.
What are the peak hours?
peak hours could be, potentially in the evening, you'll see it, definitely. You'll see it in the late morning, you'll see it. In summer, right? I mean, it's like, it's a party time out there, right? So a lot of people are there. They'll bring their kids and all. So, and that's when you'll see at least 3 to 4 backups. So somebody's washing the car, but there are 3 or 4 cars that are waiting. And then, as you know, right? I mean, if you have 3 cars there, you're onto the street. So that happens a lot during the springtime, during the summertime, obviously winter time when it's very cold. And that's what I think Gurbi was trying to say, that it's difficult for people to wash it because it's cold. You have to get out of the car, right? It's windy. So it's difficult for them to wash. But in the summertime or during the weekends, you will definitely see that.
Yeah.
And this is something you can talk to any of our neighbors. I mean, a number of them have mentioned it to me, right? So I go to the restaurant, we get food and all, and they'll always mention that. So it's a pretty well-known fact here.
All right. It's about wrapping up my questions. I just, without any actual data from you guys on, I mean, or even, you couldn't even give me times for like peak hours. I don't know what, like, I mean, I understand when late afternoon and evening is, but without any data, I have a hard time believing any of these traffic claims that you guys are making. And let's say they are true and it is very busy. The proposed setup that you guys have will actually kind of add to that, and it won't make any traffic better as of right now. But
I think if you don't mind, I'll just answer a little bit on that point, right? Okay. So, like you mentioned, and you're correct. Sometimes people go there and they have to wash their car. I mean, it takes sort of 3 times they have to add in the tokens or coins, and then they sort of complete their car. So the rest of the cars are backing up. So here the per car time is something we are significantly bringing down. So that's what we are kind of proposing and saying that the actual time to wash a car will come down. So we will relieve the issue, the traffic issue.
Yeah.
Also, the current car wash doesn't have good chemicals. We never wash our car there. I even strongly recommend don't wash it there because we're running it as a business, but old chemicals and it's just hard water, which will ruin your car. I won't recommend. I personally never washed my car there.
How long have you guys been using chemicals that are bad for the car?
No, these are old chemicals because those things takes only one simple chemical. But the hard water is a big damage to the car. But we are in business from 20 years. The big good car washes are, if we give you Tracy location, you see it will be completely different car wash.
We have more than 19 chemicals go onto the car wash over there.
It's very friendly,
environmentally friendly chemicals.
Yeah, I think what Gurbin meant was people will bring their own chemicals, right? It's unknown, and the water is hard water.
Yeah.
So these things do contribute. Yeah.
Yeah. Hard water softener would
bring their own soap and all. We don't know what they bring it. Then they use it to save money, and that is harsh. And also, the hard water is not good for your car.
So, Commissioner Alcorn, next question, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. I'm not really getting anywhere with that one. I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. Vice Chair Chuan.
Thank you, Chair. I saw Ms. Thompson. You had your hand raised briefly. Did you want to say something?
Yes, through the chair to Commissioner Alcorn. So based upon their traffic study that they submitted, that was prepared by BKF Consulting, the analysis concluded that there would be 20 p.m. peak hour trips and 29 new AM peak hour trips. And so you would just look at AM and then PM and multiply it 24 hours a day.
Okay, so so there's no specific times, but it was AM and PM.
Yes.
Okay. That's a little bit more data there. Okay, that's easier to listen to. And
So, Ms. Thompson, while you're on the subject, if Chair can interject for 1 second here, Vice Chair. I'm on the BKF report right now. There's a average rate of 108 and an average rate of proposed trip generation of 275, the average rate. So which numbers are we going to be relying on for information? This is on page 1 of 2 of their report. So this is a horizontal table, table 1.
I see that.
Thank you. If you can elaborate a little bit for us, not so often reading traffic report guys and ladies.
So the average rate, so that second column is AM peak hour. So that's 20 for AM peak hour on a weekday. And then for PM peak hours, 14. And the average rate is 275, and that's for 24-hour operation.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Alcorn, hopefully that answers some questions with regards to traffic.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair, apologize your interruption to your time.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Not a problem at all. I'm glad the questions got clarified. The question for me maybe is more going to staff. The question I had was, because the recommendation was for denial. And, I guess my question is, just assuming, just hypothetically, right, and let's say if it was, denied, then what would be the thinking to be in place of what's currently there? I mean, is it to remain that particular car wash, or is it to be, have another proposal, or I'm just trying to understand that a little bit more.
So to the chair, so the result would be that it could continue to be a car wash, but as is, we wouldn't allow expansion or intensification of the use if the project were to be denied.
And just from our side, if I can add, right, I think that if that were to happen, see, as Mr. Sood mentioned, right, we are making money on this, so we don't have any plans to stop having a car wash there. Yeah.
We can keep forever.
So I guess I also just want to understand from that standpoint, let's say it remains there. I mean, the fact that it's there, does that mean that it's, currently in compliance with, all the different, like the general plan, the Midtown specific plan? And maybe that's a question to planning director.
And Rosalind, you can chime in if you want to. Now, under current circumstances, the use is considered a non-conforming use, meaning that it was built long ago and it's there, it's operating, and may continue to do so, as Rosalind pointed out, without any expansion. They can make upgrades if they would like to and maintain the use within certain restrictions, but and the zoning ordinance allows that. But over the years, as the zoning, and in this case, the specific plan changed in accordance with input or the vision of the city council or the community, whatever it may be, then it becomes non-conforming, and it stays there. But we recognize, when new regulations are put in place, it essentially freezes like this as they are, and then the idea there is that over time they would amortize or redevelop in conformance with the current regulations and policies of the city. And that's the bottom line here. That's where our recommendation for denial is coming from, is that as a non-conforming use, it could be some other. It just happens to be this just happens to be a car wash, and they want to replace it with a new highly upgraded car wash. But we treat all non-conforming uses the same, and we've done it in other parts of the city as well. They're not. We don't allow a non-conforming use to develop into something similar. The new car washes are a little bit non-conforming. Rosalind, do you have something else to add to that?
I actually would like to clarify something. So actually, it is a legal conforming use because car washes are allowed with a CUP, and there is an existing conditional use permit for the property. So it is a conforming use in the MXD. It's the fact that they're bringing in a new application which intensifies the project. And that's what's being considered here, is the expansion and intensification of the use is incompatible with the Midtown specific plan.
Got it. I think I understand. So in essence, what they have currently right now, it's sort of, I guess you could say, kind of grandfathered in. Is that what you call it?
Well, technically a new car wash could establish itself, but it has to be 1,000 feet from an existing car wash. So with a conditional use permit in the MXD. But because this is an existing car wash with an existing CUP, it's legal conforming.
Okay. Thank you for the clarifications. Chair, that's actually all the questions I had there.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Appreciate it. So I do have a few questions. So the first one will go to the applicant. So when did the current ownership acquire this site here?
We acquired about 4 or 5 years ago.
So it's about 2016, 2017 timeframe?
Yes.
Okay, just generally that's about the timeframe. So when the current ownership acquired the site, did the ownership do a due diligence with the city of Milpitas, inquire with the staff then, in terms of the ability to redo the existing improvements? And also the land use.
That time we were not thinking to redo it, but after that we start thinking about redoing it later.
Okay, so what I'm hearing here, Mr. Sood, is that there's no, you did not approach the city of Milpitas
yes, we did
during your diligence time. Okay.
Yes. We talked to the owner who sold it. He said if they are there for more than 34 years, I guess, previous owner.
Okay, all right.
They said they have no problem with the city, nothing wrong with the city, no objection from the city. That's what they told us when we bought it from them.
Okay, all right.
And sorry, and as our architect had mentioned, right? I mean, initially when we did bring this up, I mean, he showed that it was actually going to be approved, right? And then
the question was, when the ownership acquired the property, did ownership do the due diligence during your acquisition period? Was not, the application process. So thank you for your clarification there. Question for staff, for the planning staff. So in one of the slides which you have presented during your presentation, in the section 6.02-1A, the mixed use zone, the special use that allows for a car wash under CUP. There's no cross-reference, there within, of the Midtown specific plan. And, that if I were to read that, as a layperson off the street, I would, understand that, this is a MXD or MDX use, and that this is a quote unquote conditionally allowed use based on that parameters. the other aspect of it, you know, I don't see the tag-alongs, you know, in terms of the compatibilities and other judgments thereupon. So can staff, any of the planning staff may or would like to elaborate a little bit on that end?
So to the chair, Commissioner Tao, so you want staff to explain exactly the nature of the use, so it being a conditionally permitted use in XD?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Milpitas Muni Code, section 6.02-1 and the subsection A, where it's under special uses within MXD zoning district. And so car wash is specifically noted in there as a conditional use permitted item. So kind of connecting between, you know, the text and what's on the city's books for allowing and how that's allowing. And we have making the findings and that, you know, this is, you know, quote unquote incompatible with the Midtown, but it is noted in here, you know, as a conditional use permit item. So that means the use itself is from my perspective, looking at it as a conditionally permitted use, subject to the yada yadas. So now we're kind of circling back to the basics, saying that's incompatible use in that respect. So I just like to chat with the planning staff, or discuss this item here with planning staff on how we kind of bring the nexus together on the findings.
I can take a little bit of stab at it, and then you may need to add in, Rosalind or Jessica. Yeah, so as like any use that comes forward to you or new development, tonight you're looking at both a site development permit and a conditional use permit. The site development permit addresses the potential, you know, possible future development of this site, and the CUP is specifically there because of that table that a car wash, an automated car wash, or a car wash in this zoning district requires review by the Planning Commission, and to move forward, approval by the Planning Commission of that conditional use permit. And then, as I think, as you were alluding to, Chair, those conditions, those types of use, any type of use, in this case, car wash, those conditions would address things like compatibility, noise, traffic circulation, all the things that have been brought up in the Commission's questions tonight. If you were to move forward, then we will need to bring this back to you with a different set of findings, because we're recommending denial. So the findings that are before you are to back up that recommendation. But if the Commission were to reach a different conclusion and want us to move forward with this as a conditional use, then we would need to bring back to you a different set of findings, different set of conditions to address. And as you make that, if that were the motion to be made, we would want the Commission to specify what those issues are you would like to have addressed in the conditions.
Thank you, Director, and for the clarification. You know, as being in the real estate business and being the development side of it, you know, I check on these, you know, the basics at the beginning of any land use, and this one here, to me, as a chair sitting here looking at the text itself, you know, it would indicate to me that, you know, there's a permissible path, you know, from the consideration to, you know, the ultimate possible approval, despite some of the potholes we may run into along the way. But there's a path to get there. So I'm just, you know, I'm trying to draw the nexus on that. This question here this may seem a little bit odd, but you know, the way the Midtown plans here essentially say, hey, we have a setback of so many feet, we have a vertical box facade height of maximum 45 feet, and so on and so forth. So in South Main Street is a fairly long, straight, you know, kind of a narrow, fairly narrow street. Did the city or did the consultant at the time when this Midtown specific plan was sort of concocted and or considered or adopted, did it ever do a wind velocity test for this kind of for this configuration? Because unlike a downtown where you have high risers, you have a lot of swirling, wind velocity issues arising. So when we're considering the setbacks and whatnots, that this that the considerations always, we provide some sort of step back or some sort of, let-ins. So this way there is a little bit of, the wind velocity changes issues. I mean, we're based on the way that the Midtown specific plan is written right now. Man, we got a bowling alley, and that's a wind funnel when the wind hits it right. I mean, we're going down the street fast.
Yeah, I can provide a little bit of context for why that condition is there. Of course, none of us were here when the existing Midtown plan was adopted, so I can't speculate on why or how that came about or those discussions. But in the general sense, this is an urban design issue, and again, and it speaks to the vision of the Main Street corridor as a vibrant, pedestrian-friendly corridor. And almost any plan that you see, whether it's a form-based code or a usual regular code, if a pedestrian-oriented environment is what is envisioned, they will generally call for the buildings to be closer to the street, and it calls for the form of the building and the design of the building. It will go into things like the number of windows and the number of doors, and if there is a setback, the setback is usually for a specific reason, like providing a space for a plaza for tables and chairs, a sidewalk cafe, if you will. And all of that is designed to enhance the pedestrian environment. That's the primary reason that there is a maximum setback for buildings along a sidewalk.
Thank you, Director Thomas. And on the point of sort of a pedestrian-friendly environment, South Main Street is, from basically the main library on the north end, to the south end, I believe that's Curtis. That's sort of the old Main Street section. It is, we're talking about pedestrian friendly, for that long of stretch to be pedestrian friendly, I would gather we're not going to be, having too many pedestrians that is going to be sort of traversing through from one end to the other, and that's probably more of a shorter stretches. I find that from a land use perspective, if I can just step back a little bit, when we talk about in general that a mixed use development that is pedestrian friendly and whatnot, I think that the first name that comes to mind to many people is the Santana Row development, where it's has sort of the new urbanism, in that pedestrian-friendly environment, comes from. If we were to peel back the onion, on Santana Row, basically it's off-site surface streets, vehicles gathered into the distribution streets within, and essentially what you're looking at here is well-organized parking garages on either side of the main pedestrian-friendly routes, and then you have the mixed use there too that interfaces with the pedestrians, but there's always a cars. That's part of the big component of driving people so they can park the cars and to the pedestrian friendly environment to enjoy the environment. So what Main Street, one side where the property is located, to the back of it is a long railroad track, and on the other side of it, it's backed up to another back of another set of properties, and that fronts onto Able. We have to get people into the South Main Street, any of the properties to be developed, and in order for that to be pedestrian friendly, and the only way to traverse north and south on it is on South Main Street. So I find it kind of ironic, in reading through the Midtown specific plans portions of it, the terminology of pedestrian friendly keeps on coming up. Until the cars get the people into it, it doesn't become pedestrian friendly because it's too far to walk to get to where potential pedestrian friendly sites are. And I'm just find that the whole thing's kind of ironic. I think I kind of see I guess my brain just cannot wrap around it and get it. How do you be pedestrian friendly when you cannot infiltrate the pedestrian friendly section of the streets or the sections from either side of the except a couple no points. North side, you have Sarah, and south side Curtis. In this section of the street, in essence, is a pass through. Wherever we can be pedestrian friendly is probably Sarah going north towards the main public infrastructures like the library and the medical centers. That's where the notes are. This side of it, this has no let me just stop saying that. This when Midtown Plan was first enacted and was having conversations with a planner with City Milpitas. I still remember her first name was Marina. I can't remember her last name. And we had round and round, half an hour, 40-minute long conversations and back and forth discussions and disagreements. We're providing the platform to build mixed use developments when there's really no all the retail along between Curtis and Sarah is pretty much destination commercials, servicing specific needs of the users, and the car wash is one of them. It services the users specifically. I'm just having a real hard time, trying to see retail that come in on the mixed use environment right now. You're having a tenant that pays about $400 to $450 a square foot base rent plus about $1.50 plus on the triple nets. So the $6 to open the door, on it, and that's a little hard. And there's no retail traffic per se for national credits to be there because the ADT count is not there. So, without kind of going off further, and in terms of going. The staff report in the second paragraph of the second page of staff report, and also on tonight's presentation, we talk about the distinguishing Main Street from other commercial areas in the city. When we have this kind of form-based design criteria, we're pretty much going to design this thing to look pretty much like the transit area, like other areas, as the sameness of it all becomes there. And so I think I've said enough on this item here. Got a question for Mr. Chan, traffic. So,
Chair, if I can give a very succinct, brief response to your comments. I would agree. The current conditions on Main Street are, I don't think in anyone's view, are pedestrian friendly in most places. With that in mind, the Metro Plan is very aspirational in calling for a vision of a pedestrian friendly environment. The current plan has not been effective. It's one of the issues that we will address in the forthcoming update. We hope that through our analysis, we can identify some of the reasons why it hasn't been effective. One of which is developments like the one that's before you tonight. A lot of the development occurring on Main Street is very piecemeal, and if it comes in and it's not consistent with that vision, then one development at a time sort of continues the current condition of a non-pedestrian friendly environment. The new the new Midtown Plan will definitely not be an echo of the task plan. There will be principles of good urban design are the same wherever they're applied, but we will look to apply a different standard along Main Street based on some very robust public input. And the environment is entirely different because although it is connected to transit, it's not transit adjacent, so it will be different. if I were going to look for an example of how we would fix Main Street, I would not necessarily look to Santana Row. I would look to Main Street itself, specifically the northern end of Main Street, the area immediately in front of the library and the hospital. It's arguably one of the best pedestrian-oriented environments in the city. We would like to see some of the principles that are very much alive there extended to the rest of the corridor. And what I'm talking about specifically is the library has its parking garage in the back. There is 1 or 2 entrances to that garage, so it's not a row of driveways off the street. The hospital is the same way. It doesn't have a lot of different driveways or a surface parking lot at the street. It has a parking garage with 1 entrance. And so that area is a very, very good model for what we would like to, how we would like to see the development along the rest of Main Street. Although it would not be a library or a hospital, it would be mixed use developments with limited driveways onto the street and an active environment. So definitely something we need to fix and that we will address as we pursue the update to the Midtown plan at the latter half of this year.
Thank you, Director Thomas. And I Chair, did not mean to go off there, sort of been adversarial in any way, shape, or form. But I think it's kind of looking at, this is a stretch of Midtown that's been aspired to change, and the aspiration did not arrive, in about a 20+ years time frame. So it's I hate to say this, cynicism does overcome one at some point in time. So commissioners, Commissioner Galan, circling back to you, do you have additional questions for staff and the applicant?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. And with us this evening, we also have the city traffic engineer, Steve Chan, and also Assistant Fire Chief, Albert Zamora with us. So I'll probably queue up Mr. Chan first, and then I'll go down the line with the commissioners with respect to the traffic issues pertaining to this particular project. So Mr. Chan, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. And Commissioner Albana, do you have any traffic specific questions for Mr. Chan?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Galan, do you have traffic centric questions for Mr. Chan?
No, at this moment.
Thank you. Commissioner Sardella, if you want to unmute.
Not at this time.
Thank you. And Commissioner Belong?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Elkhorn?
No.
Vice Chair?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. And so, Mr. Chen, I have one question, tagging it back onto the left turn item. So if the project, if it's approved, do you think a simple sign of no left turn will be sufficient to deter the prospective users from making a left turn when that's the most convenient thing to go south?
If it was a no left turn, I would recommend also striping within the exit of that driveway, also be striped as a right turn only arrow to augment the signage.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it. Appreciate the comment. And circling back to the commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Chan before Mr. Chan's calling it good night from this meeting? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Chan, thank you very much for your time this evening with us on the project. And Assistant Chief Zamora.
Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening. Good to see you again. So commissioners, we have Assistant Fire Chief Albert Zamora with us. So I'll go on fire-related questions. So Commissioner Albana, any questions for Assistant Chief? Would you like me to circle back to you?
Yes, circle back to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Galan.
No, sir.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Commissioner Sardella.
No questions at this time.
Thank you. And Commissioner Belong.
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Elkhorn.
At this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Chong.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Chair has one question for Deputy Chief. So on this site here, based on the way it's designed and laid out, does your fire apparatus can function efficiently if there's a need for fire suppression or other fire department functions?
Yes, we can. It's probably no different than the Taco Bell. It's very similar in terms of its access. We would go ahead and set up apparatus along Main Street, and we'll tap into and landline into the nearest hydrant and extend hose if we need to do any firefighting operations. So yeah, we did review it from an operational standpoint as well as a fire code standpoint, and we don't believe, based on our perspective, that there are any public safety issues per se. But I do want to editorialize a little bit. I joined the city 28 years ago. I was part of the group that when we developed the Midtown specific plan that was adopted in 2005, a lot of that was driven by private enterprise. However, if you remember, we had the Great Recession that caused a lot of that to go away. So I'm glad that we're probably relooking and revisiting the Midtown specific plan and revamping that for 2021 moving forward. But because of what had happened in the past, a lot of that inject just never happened. And so you have what you have today. We have a few new developments, but it's very slow and it just comes in piecemeal. So it's nothing anywhere near too close to what the task or the metro plan is looking like right now. So that's just a little editorial perspective of the 28 years that I've been here. So.
Thank you, Chief, Deputy Chief. We appreciate your information and highly appreciate your institutional knowledge that pertains to the city. We appreciate having you here. Commissioner, circling back through one more time, any other questions for Deputy Chief Zamora? Okay, seeing none, and Deputy Chief, have a nice evening. We appreciate your time with us this evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And so this has been a public hearing item, and Ms. Medina would like to open the public hearing. And do we have any public in the queue for comments?
Hi, Chair. We have no community members in the queue for public comment.
Thank you. We appreciate your noticing that, noting that. And so can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. And Commissioner Ballon, thank you for your second. And I'll go down the line for a vote. Commissioner Albana? This is the motion to close the public hearing.
Aye.
Thank you. And Commissioner Gallant?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Ciardella?
Aye.
Commissioner Ballon?
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan?
Aye.
Chair's aye as well. The public hearing segment is closed. And commissioners, discussions, recommendations, motions.
Yep.
Yes, Commissioner Alcorn.
So the way I'm kind of seeing this is this conforms to the general plan and the specific plan by only by the most technical of terms, but it completely misses the mark on the vision plan for the Midtown area. I think this project could be pretty beneficial for the next few years and then end up kind of back in the same exact place we started in the long run. That's kind of the way I see it. Like, yeah, nobody's saying that the current place is perfect. I mean, even the owners are saying, don't take your cars there. But I don't think we should jump the gun and replace it with something that is far from perfect just because it's slightly better than the original project. Right. So I would like to make a motion, and I would ask that if IT could put the recommendation slide back on, that'd be great, just so I don't stumble over my words here. Did IT hear that? If IT could put the last slide in the staff report, the recommendation slide back up, that would be great.
Chair, may
Yes.
I say something? We have a comment from Miss Barbara Joe. She, I don't believe she had her hand raised during the public,
Okay.
when the public hearing was open, but she did type something. Would you like me to read it to you? Read it into the record?
Yeah.
Before we do that, allow me to circle back with the city attorney.
Oh, yes, okay.
Since the public hearing is closed and this comment arrived, so city attorney, what is your recommendation?
I would recommend that we just reopen it and then close it after receiving that comment.
Wait, I'm sorry, Martin, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I would recommend that you reopen the public hearing and then just receive that comment and then close the hearing.
Thank you, appreciate it. So at the recommendation of city attorney, we'll reopen the public hearing and for the public comment, and we'll receive the comment, and then we'll reclose the public hearing at that point. So Ms. Medina, if you will, go ahead and read off the comment.
Okay, she typed, I wanted to ask about the walls on the north and south side. Nothing was mentioned about the materials, and I'm concerned about graffiti, and thought if perhaps there could be some historical murals considered. Would you like for her to talk and we could just run the timer?
We'll provide her with 2 minutes.
IT, you got that?
Is the speaker still with us?
Yes, her hand is still raised.
Okay, thank you.
I could, we want to give her 2 minutes?
Yes, Ms. Medina, I believe you're co-host this evening as well.
Oh, yes,
So-
that's correct.
so
Okay, I'm
can
gonna
you-
run a 2-minute timer. I'm gonna, okay, our speaker is Miss Barbara Joe Navarro.
Thank you, Ms. Navarro, you have the floor.
First of all, I want to apologize. I tried to raise my hand, but you guys were pretty quick on taking your vote, and I put my hand up, but you kept voting, so I apologize for that. So basically,
No problem. Welcome, and please state your comments.
Miss Medina did an excellent job of reading what I wrote, and that's all I had to say. So basically, I'm just concerned about the sound walls and what the materials are that they're building them with, and the aesthetics of how that would look in the plan as they proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that public comment here, if I can circle back with the architect, if you can respond to that.
Absolutely. The concession that we made with the planning staff was to provide the 6 foot tall CMU wall on the property lines, consistent with the city guidelines. We would do that. We can do it as in the same split face to match the wainscot. And I typically, as a standard, always specify an anti-graffiti coating on any exposed CMU. The building itself will have that on the exposed CMU, as well as the, we also above the wainscot have a cement plaster. So if that's the direction that staff or this commission wanted to go as opposed to the exposed CMU, we could plaster the sound walls as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. We appreciate it. Okay. So, and can I have a motion at this point to close the public hearing, please?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. Second.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
Commissioner Galan. Okay, and I'll go down the line for the vote to close the public hearing. Commissioner Albana.
Aye.
Commissioner Galan.
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong.
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan.
Aye.
Chair, aye as well. Public hearing is closed on seven ayes. Okay, and the commissioners, Before motions, is there any other comments the commissioners would like to make? If you would just raise your hand on the screen so I can see it. If okay, seeing none, so we'll return the floor back to Commissioner Alcorn. I believe you were the you had the floor before.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad we were able to get that comment in, and she got a response. That is good. Anyways, I don't need to repeat what I said before. So I'll pick up where I left off here. And I actually I went and I pulled up the recommendation in front of me here. So no need for IT to throw that back on. Although I saw you guys threw it up there, so I appreciate you guys. So here I would like to make a motion that the Planning Commission conduct the public hearing and adopt resolution number 19-034 denying site development permit P-SD18-0010 and conditional use permit amendment number P-UA18-0020.
Okay, do I have a second?
Can we just add that this would be based on the findings and
yes, based on the facts and findings provided by the planning department.
Okay.
Second.
City Attorney, does that satisfy your particulars?
Yes, that should be fine.
Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Alcorn and a second by Commissioner Galan. So I'll go down the line and requesting a vote. Commissioner Albana. So before we start, so basically by voting yes, you're actually voting to deny the applicant's application. So I just want to make sure I understand that correctly.
Thank you for the clarity, Chair.
Okay, so Commissioner Albana.
No.
Okay, and Commissioner Galan.
Yes.
Okay, and Commissioner Serradella.
Aye.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes.
And, okay, thank you. And Commissioner Belong?
Nay.
Okay, and Commissioner Alcorn?
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Chuan?
Aye.
Okay, and Chair will abstain from this vote here. And City Attorney, the reason is that Chair still expects to continue to represent the commercial property owner within the noticing distance of the subject site. So, and for full transparency and to take away any potential conflict, Chair is hereby abstaining from it. So the final vote on this is a motion carries 4-2 with Chair abstaining. Thank you very much.
Chair, will you share the votes with me? Who voted no? I have Chuan as aye. I have Alcorn as aye. I have Commissioner Albana as no.
Correct. And I believe Commissioner Belong was a no. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the other two commissioners, Galan and Serradella are ayes.
Ayes, got it. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
And Tao's abstention.
Abstain, got it. And
Do you have the vote count?
I do. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. And that concludes the public hearing item this evening. And so allow Chair to read some legal needs. Apologies, I'm looking for my electronic devices. So the next item here is a new business, and there's no item on tonight's agenda. So the legal needs for the end of the meeting is any person aggrieved by any final decision of any board, commission, or department head to the city of Milpitas may appeal the decision to City Council by filing written notice of the appeal with the city clerk within 12 calendar days of the date of said decision and paying the required fees. The time limit shall be strictly enforced. And so this concludes this evening's meetings. And Next agenda item, here's adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second,
Okay. Do I have a Commissioner Albana? Taking the vote to adjourn?
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Galan?
Aye.
Commissioner Ciradella?
aye.
Commissioner Belong?
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuang?
Aye.
And Chair's aye as well. Meeting's adjourned on 7 ayes to adjourn. Thank you very much. And we thank you. We'd like to thank the staff for the time this evening and the extended time spent on explaining the public hearing items. Thank you very much. We will see you on the next Planning Commission meeting. Have a nice evening.
Good night. Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Very good meeting.